Chapter 288. The group of people in front of him were indeed Kim Tae-ho's bodyguards. There was a total of 200 of them. All of them had their clothes stripped off, leaving only a pair of shorts to cover their private parts. There was a dilapidated carriage in the group. Xiao Chen looked at it carefully for a long time before he realized it was the luxurious golden carriage that he had been in before. However, it was now in a terrible state and was beyond recognition. The golden hood of the carriage was already gone. Only a smooth wooden board was left. Under the wooden board was a pair of golden wheels. If it wasn't for these golden wheels, Xiao Chen wouldn't have dared to associate it with the golden carriage he had seen before. What made Xiao Chen even more speechless was that Kim Tae-ho was wearing a beast skin and sitting casually on the smooth carriage. Furthermore, the people pulling the carriage were actually his subordinates. Even the precious horses had been snatched away. A group of people ran quickly on the grassland, as though they were avoiding something scary. Kim Tae-ho said loudly, "Can you be faster? This fat lord is not that heavy. You are all martial grandmasters." The subordinates were at a loss as they complained, "Young master, we've been running for 2 days and 2 nights. It's time for us to take a break. Or forget about this treasured carriage. If you run with us, you'll be able to run faster." Kim Tae-ho said angrily, "This fat lord, it was not easy for me to obtain these 2 wheels. If you just throw them away like that, wouldn't all my efforts be in vain?" The manservant following behind the carriage suddenly said, "Young master, there seems to be someone staring at us over there." Fatso said angrily, "Damn it, watch me destroy him." Never mind. Let's not bother about it. We should leave this damn place first." The manservant continued, "He seems to be walking in our direction." Fatso's expression changed. He turned his head and looked. When he discovered the person, he revealed a smile and said, "Stop the carriage." Fatso was wearing shorts and a spirit bee skin. He looked like a wild man as he quickly ran to Xiao Chen and said, "Master Xiao, it's great to see you. Don't say anything. Just give this fat brother some clothes first." Xiao Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at Fatso's pathetic appearance. A famous saying from his previous life appeared in his mind. "You have to pay for what you have done." Xiao Chen had a lot of spare clothes in the universe ring. However, Fatso's body was too stout. Xiao Chen could not put them on, so he could only drape them over his body. Although he was still in a sorry state, it was much better than wearing the animal skin. Kim Tae-ho tried his best to put on the pants that Xiao Chen handed him. After working hard for a long time, he finally managed to put it on. However, before he could relax, there was an explosion. His pants burst from Fatso's fats, turning them into strips of cloth. Kim Tae-ho had a helpless expression on his face. He could not be bothered with this. He could only tidy himself up a little and said to Xiao Chen embarrassedly, Can Master Xiao give me some more spirit stones?" Xiao Chen blushed with shame. "You were really robbed?" Fatso shrugged and said, "Is it not obvious enough? Aside from the spatial ring and a coffin lid, I only have 2 golden wheels." The affairs of the world were unpredictable. Life was always so unexpected. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly in his heart. To think that Fatso would end up like this. He could only say that the heavens had eyes. Xiao Chen took out 1,000 inferior grade spirit stones and 10,000 gold taels and handed them to Kim Tae-ho. He said, "What exactly happened? With your strength, even if you could not defeat him, you should have been able to run." Although Fatso's strength was average, he had many good things on hand. The dazzling rings and necklaces he wore were not ordinary ornaments. They were all intact secret treasures. It could be said that if both Xiao Chen and Fatso met a peak martial king, the one who could easily retreat would be Fatso. This was because this fellow had too many trump cards. Otherwise, he would not have dared to do things so recklessly. He was very confident in his heart. If he had not met with an iron plate, he would not have ended up in such a sorry state. Xiao Chen was very curious about this iron plate. What exactly happened that caused the fearless Fatso to suffer such a huge loss? Kim Tae-ho received the spirit stones and gold taels and said, "Thank you. This fat brother will remember this favor. Don't ask about anything else. In short, do not be too ruthless in the Devil Savannah. I was tricked by someone. I will not come here again." After Fatso spoke, he waved his hand. He draped an open robe over his shoulders and wore tattered pants. Then, he jumped back onto the bear carriage. Like before, he waved his hand and said, "Let's go." A few of his subordinates had conflicted expressions as they pulled the tattered carriage and slowly disappeared from Xiao Chen's vision. In the following 2 days, the uncomfortable feeling in Xiao Chen's heart became even more obvious. However, because of what happened to Fatso, Xiao Chen became more cautious. He kept his spiritual sense within a 2-kilometer radius. This slowed him down. However, there was no harm in being cautious. Xiao Chen did not want Fatso's miserable experience to happen to him. On this particular day, as Xiao Chen walked on the vast savanna, he sent out his spiritual sense. He discovered something unusual. There was not a single sound within a 2-kilometer radius. It was very quiet. When Xiao Chen extended his spiritual sense, he did not even see the spirit beasts that he normally saw. He did not know where they were. Xiao Chen frowned slightly and stopped walking. He said doubtfully, "What's going on? I can't see a single spirit beast. The air seems to have stopped flowing. Something is strange." With a thought, Xiao Chen no longer sent out his spiritual sense as a halo. Instead, he gathered it into a thin line and shot it out. After Xiao Chen's spiritual sense turned into a thin line, he could extend it to a distance of 10 kilometers. Finally, he discovered something else. At the end of Xiao Chen's spiritual sense, there was a black flood heading in the direction of Xiao Chen. When Xiao Chen looked carefully, this black flood was made up of a group of cavalry wearing pitch-black battle armor. A rough count gave at least 1,000 of them. 1,000 black cavalry gathered together, giving off an overwhelming aura. Even from a distance, Xiao Chen's spiritual sense felt a huge pressure. Xiao Chen withdrew his spiritual sense, and his expression changed slightly. He muttered, "Kim Tae-ho, could he have fallen at the hands of this group of people? I'll change directions first." Just as Xiao Chen was about to move, he thought of something. He sent out his spiritual sense in advance. In the end, he discovered that he was surrounded by these horrifying black cavalry. Surrounded, Xiao Chen could not help but look at the sky. If there was an opening there, he would be able to leave easily. However, when Xiao Chen looked up, he discovered that at some point in time, a flock of fierce wind vultures had appeared in the sky. There was a knight wearing black battle armor, sitting on each fierce wind vulture. Xiao Chen could not help but shake his head and smile bitterly. He said, "There is really no way out." Dong, dong, dong. Deafening galloping sounds came from the ground. 10 groups of black cavalry kicked up a cloud of dust as they galloped over. Each group of black cavalry had 1,000 people. When added together, there were 10,000 of them. Xiao Chen took a rough look and saw a black mass. The weakest of these 10,000 people was a martial grandmaster. There were at least 1,000 martial saints and above. The auras of over 10,000 people merged together, forming a continuous stretch. Even the air seemed to stop flowing, making it difficult for people to breathe. These were no longer bandits. This was probably the strength of the Great Qin Nation's elite army. The 10 people in the lead rode on black warhorses. They wore black masks that covered half their faces. They rode the black warhorses and walked in front of Xiao Chen. The person in the middle should be the leader of this group of people. He was a peak martial king. Just one glance was enough to make Xiao Chen feel incomparably terrified. When that person saw Xiao Chen's calm expression, he revealed a faint smile under his mask. He said, "Qingyan Pixie-chun, right? Didn't anyone tell you that you cannot be too ruthless in this devil savannah? Hand over 500,000 inferior grade spirit stones and 5,000 medial grade spirit stones. You can leave. You are not allowed to appear in the devil savannah in the future," the leader continued. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He quickly thought of a countermeasure. This request was too much. He could not agree to it. He said in a sullen voice, "What if I don't hand it over?" The leader was not surprised at Xiao Chen's reply. He smiled faintly and said, "You should have seen what happened to Jin Ba Bao. His initial reply was the same as yours." It turned out that this group of people had their eyes on Fatso. The waters of the Devil's Savannah were deeper than Shao Chun had imagined. No wonder the three noble clans had failed to capture Shao Chun when they surrounded him. When the leader saw that Shao Chun was silent, he muttered, "You are different from Fatso. You have not gone to the extreme. It is fine if you do not hand it over. If you can withstand 3 palm strikes from me, I will give you 100,000 inferior Great Spirit Stones and 1,000 medial Great Spirit Stones. However, you are not allowed to step into the Devil's Savannah in the future." Shao Chun was not in a rush to reply. The 2 options that this person gave him were not easy to choose from. The first option would make Shao Chun bleed. The latter option looked good. Not only did it not require Shao Chun to fork out Spirit Stones, it even gave him Spirit Stones. However, 3 palm strikes from a peak martial king was not easy to receive. Even if he did not die, he would be severely injured. Unfortunately, the situation was in the hands of the other party. Shao Chun did not have many trump cards to choose from. If he did not guess wrong, the other party should be worried about his identity as a member of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. That was why they were not in a rush to make a move. Otherwise, they would not be speaking so much nonsense with him. Shao Chun would have ended up like Fatso. Not going to say anything? In that case, take it as you choosing the second option, the black-clothed masked man said indifferently. Right after he spoke, the black-clothed man had already arrived before Shao Chun. He sent out a palm strike, creating a boundless whistling sound. It tore through the water like air and surged toward Shao Chun. Shao Chun's expression turned grave. He had no other choice. He quickly circulated the dragon and tiger body sculpting art. His bones gave off crackling sounds, and the image of a ferocious tiger condensed on his body. When Shao Chun punched out, the ferocious tiger poured into his arm, carrying a strong force. Shao Chun clashed with the black-clad man's palm strike. He did not hold back in this punch. It contained a force of 18,000 kilograms. Bang! The fist and palm collided and gave off a loud sound. A shockwave visible to the naked eye surged in all directions, leaving ripples in the air. A huge force poured into his body from his arm. Shao Chun felt his internal organs churn. The qi and blood in his body surged, and hot blood rushed to his head. Chapter 289. When the black-clothed man felt the force from Shao Chun's fist, he was mildly astonished. Shao Chun actually received his palm strike head-on and did not retreat at all. "Retreat!" The black-clothed man shouted in his heart, and a hidden force surged out from his palm. A horrifying force was transmitted, and Shao Chun vomited a mouthful of blood. Shao Chun's body immediately flew back. Huchi! Before Shao Chun could stabilize himself, the black-clothed man's second palm strike arrived, not giving him any time to react. His left hand turned into a dragon, and his right hand turned into a tiger. Shao Chun quickly crossed his arms, and the dragon and tiger merged into his body. This was the third move of the Great Dragon Tiger Fist, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. The Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon that could block 25,000 kilograms of force was like a mountain when the black-clothed man's palm strike landed on it. There was a loud rumbling sound, and the ground started to shake. Shao Chun did not hesitate. He knew that this person would definitely continue to use hidden force to attack him. He immediately withdrew his body and quickly retreated. The dragon and tiger body, sculpting art, circulated continuously. Using the stance of the crouching tiger hidden dragon, he continuously gathered energy. The 2 images of a dragon and a tiger circling around his body were very realistic. The dragon roars and tiger roars continuously resounded. The black-clothed man revealed a smile under his mask. "Not bad. You received 2 of my palm strikes. There's still 1 more. If you can receive it, you can leave." Shao Chun remained silent. When he saw the black-clothed man flying at him again, he suddenly shouted. The roar of a dragon and tiger came from his dantian. The roar was like thunder, reverberating in the surroundings. Finally, it gathered together and formed a strong aura that rushed to the 9 heavens. A large portion of the clouds in the sky were scattered by the shockwave. The roar of the dragon and tiger pierced through the sky. Unexpectedly, Xiao Qian's dragon and tiger body sculpting art broke through to the peak at such a moment. He rushed to the 9 heavens in one breath and scattered the clouds. When Xiao Qian punched, he used the accumulated energy of the crouching tiger hidden dragon. This punch seemed to pierce through the air. There was an ear-piercing explosion that resounded continuously. However, the black-clothed man's third palm strike was much more powerful than the previous two. Even if he didn't use 70% of his strength, he still used 50% of his strength. Bang! A deafening roar resounded across the vast grassland. Under this sound wave, the surrounding warhorses all fell into a state of panic. All sorts of voices mixed together, and the scene was filled with mockery. The power behind Xiao Qian's fist completely exceeded the black-clothed man's expectations. It was a full 25,000 gene of strength, causing him to take 3 steps back. Every time they took a step back, a 3-foot-deep footprint would be left on the ground, and the surrounding ground would shake. Many of the shadow cavalry were directly shaken off their horses. Xiao Qian was in an even worse state. The final hidden force from the black-clothed man was incomparably terrifying. In an instant, it surged into Xiao Qian's meridians and violently surged forward, completely disrupting the circulation of essence in his body. Xiao Qian vomited 3 mouthfuls of blood in the air and flew back more than 100 meters before landing heavily on the ground. Then, he vomited another mouthful of blood. The difference between an inferior grade Martial King and a peak Martial King is simply too great. I can defeat Yu Mingshan, who is only an inferior grade Martial King. However, I have no chance of victory against a peak Martial King. My current combat prowess should be equal to a peak inferior grade Martial King. I might even be able to hold my own against a medial grade Martial King. If I run into a superior grade Martial King, I will have to flee quickly. Xiao Qian thought to himself. These 3 palm strikes gave him a better understanding of the strength of a peak Martial King. Xiao Qian pushed off the ground and stood up again. He placed a blood-replenishing pill in his mouth and said to the black-clothed man, "Might I ask for your name?" The black-clothed man tossed out boxes of spirit stones and said indifferently, "With your strength, you are qualified to know my name. Chu Jun, here are 100,000 inferior grade spirit stones and 1,000 medial grade spirit stones. Take them and leave. Don't ever come to the Devil's Savannah again." Xiao Qian slowly wiped off the blood at the corner of his lips. He revealed a faint smile on his pale face. "Chu Jun, I will remember these 3 palm strikes. I will definitely return them to you in the future." Rushing thunder roars, 10,000 horses gallop. It was unknown when a large number of dark clouds had gathered above the crowd. Following Xiao Qian's shout, there was a burst of electricity in the dark clouds. A huge electric whirlpool formed. Countless electric knights soared out of the whirlpool. Xiao Qian hid among the electric knights and quickly charged at the surrounding black knights. Bang! 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 The surging electric knights were caught off guard and opened a gap in the encirclement. Xiao Qian did not linger to fight. After he broke through this gap, he immediately made all the electric knights explode to cover his retreat. After that, he activated the Windwalk shoes and executed the Blue Dragon Cloud soaring art to its limits. His speed soared to the speed of sound as he rushed forward. Just as the other black knights and cultivators in the sky were about to give chase, Chu Jun waved his hand and stopped them. A masked black-clothed man at the side said, "Commander Chu, why did you not make a move to stop him?" Chu Jun said indifferently, "Stop him? What's the point of stopping him? Kill him? Are you not afraid of the divine saber camp surrounding him again?" Such a genius is like Murong Chong from a few years ago. He is definitely someone that the Heavenly Saber Pavilion would focus on nurturing. If we kill him, they will definitely take revenge. A purple light flickered and Xiao Qian turned into a purple blur. He expended his essence without caring about it. He activated the Windwalk shoes at full power and flew for 4 hours before he stopped. After looking around, Xiao Qian's pale face felt somewhat depressed. When he was fleeing, he did not notice that he was running in the opposite direction from the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Never mind, I should not care about this. I should treat my injuries first. That person's inner energy is too ferocious. If I leave it in my body for a long time, it will definitely leave behind some hidden injuries. Xiao Chun found a desolate place and took out a medial-grade spirit stone. Then, he started to slowly recover his essence. I jumped out of the spirit blood jade obediently and stood guard by Xiao Chen's side. It helped him chase away the ferocious spirit beasts wandering around, allowing Xiao Chun to focus on recovering his essence. The vast essence in a medial-grade spirit stone quickly entered Xiao Chen's body. He had exhausted too much essence in the mad dash earlier. His essence had not recovered to its peak, so he could not properly use it to treat his injuries. Thus, in order to treat his injuries, he had to recover all his essence first. At the start, Xiao Chun needed an entire night to absorb the energy of a medial-grade spirit stone. Now, he only needed 4 hours to completely absorb the energy of a medial-grade spirit stone. This time, because of his injuries, his absorption speed was slower than usual. After 8 hours, Xiao Chun finally finished recovering his essence. He started to carefully remove the hidden energy that the black-clothed man had left in his meridians. The importance of meridians to cultivators went without saying. Xiao Chun would rather take more trouble and spend more time than to use brute force. This cleansing process took 6 hours. Finally, the hidden energy that the black-clothed man had left in his body was completely removed. Xiao Chun immediately felt very relaxed. When he looked up, the sky was already dark. Xiao Chun decided to travel through the night. After hesitating for a while, he gave up on the idea of using the silver warship. The silver warship was too eye-catching. It would easily expose his identity. Back in Whitewater City, many people had seen him use it. If they found out, it would be troublesome. The aristocratic families had never let up on their pursuit of him. This time, he had seen his wanted poster in every city along the way. Without resting for too long, Xiao Chun checked the direction and started moving again. I followed behind Xiao Chun. His speed was not much slower than Xiao Chen's. After that, Xiao Chun did not run into any obstructions along the way. With the Windwalk shoes activated, the journey, which would have taken 5 days, took only 3 days to complete. When Xiao Chun saw the Lingyun mountain range appear in his vision, the uneasiness in his heart became even stronger. Something must have happened to someone he cared about. Otherwise, he would not have such an intense feeling. Heavenly Saber Pavilion, Biyun Peak, Song Kei's bedroom. Urgent footsteps could be heard. The door opened with a bang. Song Qinhe said anxiously, "Father, I have received news that Xiao Chun will arrive at the Heavenly Saber Pavilion in 4 hours." On the bed, Song Kei, who only had one arm remaining, opened his eyes. A dense killing intent flashed in his eyes as he said, "Send someone to inform the assassins of the Flying Snow Manor. After that, don't bother with him. As long as he dies outside the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, it will have nothing to do with us." When Song Kei received news that Xiao Chun had killed Yu Mingshan, he was extremely astonished. He had not expected Xiao Chun to be able to kill an inferior grade martial king. Furthermore, it was the extremely cautious Yu Mingshan. This made Song Kei feel threatened. This brat's strength was growing too fast. If Xiao Chun were to advance to martial king, his life would be in danger. This was especially so now that he only had one arm remaining. Thus, before Xiao Chun matured, he had to kill him. Otherwise, it would be even more difficult to make a move in the future. On the path to the top of the mountain, Xiao Chun looked at the tall peaks of Lingyun Mountain. Suddenly, he stopped. He felt a weak, killing intent. He immediately extended out his spiritual sense and found 4 inferior-grade martial kings hidden in the bushes by the roadside. Xiao Chun frowned slightly and placed his right hand on the hilt of the Lunar Shadow Saber. "They are actually people from the Flying Snow Manor," Xiao Chun said indifferently. No wonder they dared to make a move at the foot of Lingyun mountain range. At this moment, Xiao Chun was extremely furious. He felt very anxious to know the truth of the matter. He did not expect to meet with an assassination attempt here. Aside from Song Kei, there was no one else who could know his whereabouts like the back of their hand. Furthermore, they could spend a large sum of money to hire a martial king to kill him. Damn it! I have to find an opportunity to kill this person. Otherwise, there will be no end to this trouble, Xiao Chun thought to himself coldly. When the four hidden people saw Xiao Chun suddenly stop, they did not hesitate to draw their swords. Chi! Chi! For strands of dense sword chi tore through the bushes in front of them and shot toward Xiao Chun. There was a qualitative difference between an inferior-grade martial king's sword chi and a martial saint's. With the essence infused into Xiao Chen's body, it would be difficult for him to block it. However, Xiao Chun did not even think of dodging. He quickly drew his saber with his right hand. Chapter 290. Glittering Wukuwei. A purple saber light flashed. Xiao Chen's saber vibrated 4 times in the air. 4 divine Wukuwei tree branches turned into dense saber chi and welcomed the attack without hesitation. Dang! 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 When the saber chi and sword chi clashed, they clanged in the air, giving off melodious explosions. The 4 assassins moved like phantoms, each heading for Xiao Chun from a different direction. The 4 of them were already inferior-grade martial kings. Their speed reached the speed of sound. They merged with the wind silently. Purple thunder, true fire. Shoot! The fierce purple flame in Xiao Chen's right eye started to burn continuously. The flame quickly condensed into a purple light. It stretched in his right eye and turned into a purple arrow. The arrow flew out at lightning speed. It was faster than sound. In an instant, it pierced through the chest of the assassin in front and flew into the distance like a meteor. At this moment, with 4 early-stage inferior-grade martial kings surrounding him, if Xiao Chun still did not use his trump card, he would be too stupid. Bang! 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 The jade pendant on Xiao Chen's chest quickly activated. The remaining 3 inferior-grade martial saints thought they could take advantage of this opportunity to strike Xiao Chun. However, they were all repelled by the barrier. A huge force came from the barrier and bounced back at the 3, knocking them back. The 3 of them had used their full strength in their attacks. Almost all of them were repelled. The essence in their bodies became chaotic and they were caught off guard. I have to end this quickly. The longer this drags on, the greater the disadvantage I will be in, Xiao Chun quickly thought to himself. I only have a few trump cards. If they see through me, it will be useless. Wukuwei shakes the heavens. Xiao Chun roared ferociously and leaped into the air. The ancient divine Wukuwei tree appeared from nowhere. It carried an earth-shattering aura as it pressed down on a retreating martial saint. Bang! 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 This killing move contained a strong state of thunder. The retreating inferior-grade martial king had no way to block it. The force of the divine Wukuwei tree struck him, and he vomited a mouthful of blood. Then, he flew back again. After suffering 2 heavy blows in a row, Xiao Chun would not be able to fight for a while. He turned around and faced the 2 assassins behind him. Purple light flickered under his feet, and a strange purple flower bud appeared out of nowhere, wrapping around Xiao Chen's body. Both of their swords struck the flower bud, but there was no reaction at all. Seeing this, they hurriedly retreated. Wukuwei blossoms. Xiao Chun shouted from within the flower bud, and the purple flower bud suddenly bloomed. A moment later, the petals danced in the air, forming a dazzling Wukuwei flower. Xiao Chen's figure flashed in the air. He leaped over the petals that filled the sky and stabbed out with his saber. As Xiao Chun passed through the petals, countless streams of light fell from the petals. His speed instantly reached its peak, reaching 2 times the speed of sound. Pucci! Xiao Chun, who had reached 2 times the speed of sound, stabbed an assassin as expected. This speed was not something they could react to at all. Wukuwei, supporting the heavens. Xiao Chun shouted, and the petals that filled the air flowed into the assassin's wound. The assassin's body immediately flew back 200 meters. In the next moment, a towering tree rose from the assassin's chest, pressing him down firmly. When Xiao Chun made his move, the remaining assassin did not hesitate to stab him with his sword. Xiao Chun had already used up all his trump cards. Furthermore, he had just finished his move. There was no way for him to dodge this attack. He could only tilt his body slightly, avoiding a vital point. Blood immediately spurted out of Xiao Chen's chest. The wound was only 2 centimeters away from Xiao Chen's heart. If it had been any closer, he would have died immediately. Intense pain spread out. At the critical moment of life and death, Xiao Chen suddenly calmed down. Enduring the boundless pain, Xiao Chen grasped his sword with his left hand. Blood flowed continuously from his palm as he prevented the other party from stabbing in. At the same time, the lunar shadow saber in his right hand stabbed at the assassin's chest. The other party did not dodge. A cold, murderous intent flashed in his eyes. He held his sword with one hand and held it with both hands. Suddenly, Xiao Chen felt a strong essence coming from the sword. As long as the essence flowed into his body through the sword, it would immediately crush his heart. This was because the wound was too close to his heart. Unexpectedly, the other party chose to die together with him. The assassins of the Flying Snow Manor were too decisive. Just as Xiao Chen was about to despair, a gentle breeze blew. There was a flash of light, and the assassin's head flew off. The surging essence on the sword was immediately severed. That person's headless body fell heavily to the ground. When Xiao Chen saw the person who helped him kill the 2 heavily injured martial kings, his eyes were filled with surprise. The person who helped him was actually Murong Chong, who did not get along with him. It was not a coincidence that Murong Chong appeared here. After he found out that the tendon refining flour was taken away by Xiao Chen, he had been following him from afar. When Murong Chong saw Xiao Chen slowly pull out the sword from his chest, he said indifferently, "Keep your life. I will personally come for it on the 15th. Xiao Chen applied some ointment to his wound and bandaged it. Then, he watched Murong Chong leave. His eyes were filled with doubt. What exactly is going on? What will happen on the 15th? Could it be that the thing that I have been feeling has something to do with him? At the foot of Lingyun mountain range, Xiao Chen verified his identity with the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's guards. Then, he quickly rushed towards Qingyun Peak. Xiao Chen did not even have time to treat the wound on his chest. He only applied some ointment and bandaged it. Before he got far, he felt an intense pain in his chest. However, the uneasiness in his heart intensified. Xiao Chen was sure that something had happened to someone he cared about on Qingyun Peak. Yi Chun is back. Look, it really is Yi Chun. As he passed by the other peaks, a disciple recognized Xiao Chen's appearance and immediately exclaimed in astonishment. I heard that he killed the black tuna whale and the veteran expert, Yu Mingshan, at the Black Dragon River. Now, everyone in the Shihe province is talking about him. Indeed, he also fought Mu Chengxue to a draw in Shihe province. They were neck and neck. For him to be able to fight the famous Mu Chengxue to a draw, his name has spread throughout the Shihe province. However, such a big matter has happened on Qingyun Peak. Now, he has to face Murong Chong in advance. His life will be in danger in the match of life and death. I can only say that it is unfortunate. Murong Chong was already a superior grade martial saint a year ago. With his talent now, it would be easy for him to kill an inferior grade martial king. If Xiao Chen fought him, his chances of victory would be slim. The surrounding discussions entered Xiao Chen's ears. This caused his anxious expression to turn even more unsightly. Lu Ruyue, please don't let anything happen to her. Xiao Chen endured the pain in his chest and rushed to Qingyun Peak. He did not think too much and immediately headed for Lu Ruyue's room. Qingyun Peak was the same as before. There was a cool breeze and clear water. There were very few people. It was very quiet. Xiao Chen did not run into anyone along the way. When he arrived at Lu Ruyue's courtyard, Xiao Chen resisted the thought of using his spiritual sense to check. He took a deep breath and slowly relaxed the tense expression on his face from the pain. Dong, dong, dong. The sound of footsteps came from outside the courtyard. Xiao Chen quickly looked up and saw Lu Suifeng walking out with an anxious expression. Lu Suifeng raised his head and saw Xiao Chen in front of the courtyard. He immediately revealed a joyful expression and said, Xiao Chen, when did you return? Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, Not long ago, I just arrived. Then he asked probingly, Elder sister Ru, are you all right? When Lu Suifeng heard this, the smile on his face immediately vanished. He became anxious again. He sighed and said, "Don't go in first. Let's talk as we walk." My elder sister failed to break through to Martial King. Her meridians were severed, and she became a cripple. Along the way, Lu Suifeng calmly said something that Xiao Chun did not dare believe. Although Xiao Chun had a premonition that something would happen to Lu Ruyue before he received any concrete news, he would always be optimistic. Her meridians were severed, and she became a cripple. How could Lu Ruyue accept such a result? Xiao Chun could understand Lu Ruyue's feelings just by thinking about it. Xiao Chun quickly asked, "What's going on?" Her cultivation is already infinitely close to Martial King. Why did she forcefully break through? Couldn't she just let nature take its course? Breaking through from Martial Saint to Martial King was much more difficult than breaking through in the past. This was especially so for breaking through before the age of 25. The difficulty one would face would be several times that of a regular cultivator. This was because all the strong cultivators since ancient times had one thing in common. They all broke through to Martial King before the age of 25. On the other hand, if one could break through to Martial King before the age of 25, they would at least become a martial monarch. With Lu Riyue's talent, she was infinitely close to Martial King before the age of 24. It was certain that she would become a Martial King before the age of 25. If there was nothing special, there was no need to forcefully break through. The difference in danger between forcefully breaking through and succeeding naturally was like the difference between heaven and earth. Being infinitely close to Martial King did not mean that one would succeed if one forcefully broke through. The danger would not decrease at all. This was because before the time was right, the risk would not change. Lu Suifeng shook his head and smiled bitterly. Do you remember when she came out of the subspace and suddenly went in a closed-door cultivation? Xiao Chen nodded and said, "Of course I remember. That was when she started preparing to break through." Lu Suifeng nodded and said, "Not long after we left, Murong Chong mentioned the Peak Master Contention battle to the Elders' Assembly. My sis must have received the news in advance. She did not have absolute confidence in defeating Murong Chong, so she decided to take the risk and forcefully break through to Martial King. Keep your life, I will come and take it on the 15th. Xiao Chun thought of Murong Chong's words and asked, "What is the Peak Master Contention battle? Tell me in detail." Lu Suifeng explained. The Peak Master Contention battle was a privilege given by the Heavenly Saber Pavilion to the top 10 of the Wind Cloud list. They had a chance to challenge the Peak Master once in their lifetime. If they succeeded, they would become the Peak Master of that peak. Before the Peak Master Contention battle, both parties had to sign a life-and-death contract. For the sake of the Peak Master position, both parties could not hold back. Hence, once the battle started, life or death would be up to fate. This rule had existed since the establishment of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. In all of history, only 10 people had succeeded in challenging the Peak Master position. Chapter 291. This was because the Peak Master was at least a peak medial grade Martial King. Unless they were demonic geniuses, very few disciples could successfully challenge them. Only Lu Riyue was an exception. Due to her father's special circumstances, she inherited the position of Peak Master early. Lu Suifeng said, "This is also why my elder sister cultivates so desperately. In the past few years, my elder sister received a total of 3 challenges and defeated them all. However, she did not expect Murong Chong to challenge her this time." Xiao Chen frowned and said, "Is Murong Chong very strong? With Lu Ruyue's strength, could she not be a match for him?" Lu Suifeng said sullenly, "He is very strong. 3 years ago, when he left Qingyun Peak, he only lost to my elder sister by 1 move. 3 years later, my elder sister is no longer confident of winning." Xiao Chan said doubtfully, "If elder sister Riyue is injured, doesn't that mean Murong Chong will win?" Lu Suifeng glanced at Xiao Chun and said, "No. According to tradition, when a master is injured, the disciple will replace him. So, the task of protecting Qingyun Peak will be handed to you." When Xiao Chun heard this, he was slightly stunned. However, he was not surprised. He finally understood why those disciples had such a big reaction when they saw him. However, honestly speaking, Xiao Chun did not have much confidence against Morong Chong. When he executed the clear wind chop at the foot of the mountain, it was clear that he had improved. His comprehension of the state of wind had completely fooled Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun got up and said, "Never mind, let's not think about this. I'll go and check on elder sister Ryue first." There was no point in thinking too much. It was better to check on Lu Ryue's injuries first. Lu Suifeng stopped Xiao Chun and said, "Wait a while. She just fell asleep and has not eaten much in the past few days. Let her rest first." When Xiao Chun heard this, he felt an indescribable pain in his heart. He nodded silently. After Lu Suifeng left, Xiao Chun dealt with his injuries and started to meditate to recover to his peak. However, no matter what, he could not calm down. If this continued, he might end up in a state of berserking qi deviation. Xiao Chun felt helpless. He could only get up and stop cultivating, sitting alone in the courtyard. In the huge courtyard, Xiao Chun took out the tendon refining flower from the universe ring. There was a faint smile on his face. It seemed like everything was going according to the will of the heavens. When he was in the Devil's Savannah, he had just obtained the tendon refining flower. However, before he could consume it, he received the news of Lu Ryue's meridians being severed. However, the tendon refining flower could not heal the meridians. If the 9 major meridians in the human body were also broken, then even God Daluo would not be able to recover. Lu Suifeng had left in a hurry. He had not thought of this problem earlier. At this moment, Xiao Chun could not help but feel conflicted again. This was probably the reason why he could not calm down completely earlier. Chun, Xiaolong, Shun, Sun, were Lu Chun Su, a few words. Xiao Chun. Long King, he longs, I of Lu, he Chun, I Lu, Su, Chun to say he. What exactly is the reason? Xiao Chun looked at the distant red clouds in the sky, his face filled with confusion. Never mind. I'm not going to think about it. Xiao Chun shook his head and sighed. If I can't figure it out, I'll put it aside for now. I will understand it one day. He would not get an answer if he kept thinking about it. This was Xiao Chun's usual way of doing things. However, at this moment, he told himself not to think about it. His thoughts were in a mess. He could not calm down no matter what. Xiao Chun's usual determination and calmness were all useless at this moment. Xiao Chun just sat on the stone table as night slowly fell. Finally, Xiao Chun could no longer endure it. He pushed off the ground and leaped over the high wall, heading for Lu Ryue's courtyard. Under the illumination of the bright moonlight, Xiao Chun soon arrived at Lu Ryue's courtyard. He hesitated for a while before Xiao Chun pushed the door open and entered. Yi Chun, when did you come back? The moment Xiao Chun stepped into the courtyard, he saw Lu Ryue wearing a white dress. She had a haggard expression as she sat at the table in the courtyard. When she saw Xiao Chun, she revealed a faint smile on her pale face. The moonlight shone on Lu Ryue's graceful figure. Her white dress and pale face made Lu Ryue's originally flirtatious temperament appear very weak. This was the first time Xiao Chun saw a Lu Ryue wearing dress. In the past, every time he saw Lu Ryue, she would be wearing female cultivator robes. Under her flirtatious appearance, she gave off a strong and decisive feeling. There was nothing that could defeat her. She was always filled with passion. The contrast was so great that Xiao Chun was not used to it. For a moment, he forgot his purpose in coming here and did not know how to respond. Lu Ryue looked at Xiao Chun outside the door. Suddenly, her expression changed. She got up and walked over to Xiao Chun. Yi Chun, are you injured? Xiao Chun recovered his wits and quickly said, It's just a small injury. It's not a big deal. Lu Ryue's expression sank. She said, Don't lie to me. Although I no longer have my cultivation, I still have some eyesight. Let me take a look. Xiao Chun felt ashamed at his heart. He quickly stepped back and said, I'm really fine. Elder sister Ryue, let me take a look at your injuries first. Lu Ryue placed her hand on Xiao Chun's chest and felt the location of the wound. Her expression changed as she said, The wound is only 2 centimeters away from your heart. If it was any closer, you would have died. This is just a small injury. Who did this? Xiao Chun smiled faintly. Naturally, he could not tell Lu Ryue the truth. He said, "The bandits of the Devil Savannah. However, I have always been very lucky. I will not die so easily." Walking behind Lu Ryue, Xiao Chun placed his right hand on her shoulder. Lu Ryue's body trembled slightly, but she quickly calmed down. Xiao Chen's essence flowed into Lu Ryue's body through his right hand. The essence circulated through Lu Ryue's 9 major meridians before Xiao Chun let go. He heaved a sigh of relief. Lu Ryue turned around and smiled faintly. "I am now a cripple. In the future, I will not be able to guide you in martial techniques." Xiao Chun shook his head and took out the tendon refining flower from the universe ring. He said, "That might not be the case. Look at this. Tendon refining flower?" Lu Ryue said in astonishment. "Where did you get this?" It had to be known that injuries to a cultivator's meridians were the most difficult to treat. Normally, when the meridians were damaged, they would need to be nurtured for a long time before they could be treated. As for Lu Ryue, aside from some peak-grade immortal herbs, normal medicinal pills for treating meridians would not have any effect on her. However, peak-grade immortal herbs could only be found and not sought. Hence, the only thing that could help her was this tendon refining flower. Although the tendon refining flower's rank was not high, it was extremely rare. It took a long time to mature as well. Even in some auctions, it was difficult to obtain. This was because the moment it appeared, it would be snatched up. Hence, Lu Ryue was very astonished at how Xiao Chen obtained it. Xiao Chen did not answer this question directly. He smiled gently and said, "Your 9 major meridians are not really injured. With this tendon refining flower, your meridians should be able to recover in a month. Furthermore, the toughness of your meridians will improve." Lu Ryue revealed a joyful expression when she received the tendon refining flower. However, she immediately turned sad. She said, "I still cannot make it in time for Murong Chan's appointment in a month. In the end, I am still too late." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "You don't believe in my strength?" When Lu Ryue heard this, she was slightly stunned. She remembered when she first met Xiao Chen. At that time, she could easily defeat him. However, in the short span of half a year, Xiao Chen's cultivation had risen from martial grandmaster to medial grade martial saint. His combat prowess was comparable to an inferior grade martial king. With such talent, he was no weaker than Murong Chen. Unfortunately, he was still too slow. The time he had to grow was too short. Furthermore, the battle between the two of them was not an ordinary exchange of pointers. It was a battle to the death. However, given Murong Chan's character, Lu Ryue was very clear that he would not leave a path of retreat for himself. Xiao Chen would be in great danger. Just recuperate in peace. No matter what, I will help you protect Qingyan Peak. This is because I'm also a member of Qingyan Peak. I will take my leave first, Xiao Chen said with a serious expression. Right after Xiao Chen spoke, he turned and left. Just as he was about to step out of the courtyard, Lu Ryue said softly, "Yi Chun, thank you." Xiao Chen paused for a while and smiled faintly. Then, he increased his speed and left this place. After returning to his courtyard, Xiao Chen sat cross-legged on his bed and immediately circulated his essence to treat his injuries. This time, his heart was as calm as still water. There were no ripples at all. His mind was clear as he slowly circulated his essence to treat the sword wound on his chest. Xiao Chen's physical body was very strong. After a few rounds of tempering and the assistance of the 7-leaf flower, his recovery ability had reached a considerable level. The wound did not pierce through his chest. As long as Xiao Chen had time to calm down, he would be able to recover in less than 24 hours. 2 days later, Xiao Chen's chest wound had completely recovered. During this period of time, Lu Suifeng came over once. He had brought a lot of superior quality healing medicine from Jade Maiden Peak. Xiao Chen did not know whether to laugh or cry. Xiao Chen's injuries were actually not serious. He had nearly injured his heart. However, it was still a close call. Xiao Chen's vital areas were not severely injured. He only needed to use his essence to nourish himself for a period of time. There was no need for so much healing medicine. After not going out for 2 days, Xiao got up and pushed open the door. The sunlight shone on his face as the fresh air assaulted his face. He immediately felt refreshed and relaxed. The 15th, there is still 1 more week to go. Murong already knows most of my trump cards. However, I did not know much about Murong's trump cards. I have to practice the 3 sure kill moves of the Wukuei saber technique and turn them into new trump cards. Otherwise, I will not have any chance of victory. I can also modify the rushing thunder roars. I can change it from a group attacking martial technique to a single target martial technique. I can also use it as a trump card. Xiao Chun muttered to himself as he looked into the distance at the bright and beautiful sky. After thinking about it, Xiao Chun went over the walls of the courtyard and headed for the back mountain of Qingyun Peak. There were not many people in the entire Qingyun Peak. Thus, the vast back mountain was very quiet. It was very suitable for Xiao Chun's requirements. Arriving at an empty space, Xiao Chun practiced the first 3 moves of the Wukuei saber technique. Glittering Wukuei, the saber flashed 9 times in the air. Suddenly, 9 purple branches of the divine Wukuei tree appeared. The branches moved like lightning, moving chaotically in the air. They tore through space and left behind marks. Chapter 292. Xiao Chun withdrew his saber and stopped in satisfaction. He was close to great perfection in the 3 foundational moves. He could already send out 9 strands of dense saber chi at the same time. The quality of a martial saint saber chi was much weaker than a martial king's. However, Xiao Chun had glittering Wukuei. The saber chi from the tree branch was no weaker than a martial king's saber chi. This made up for this gap. Furthermore, this move exhausted very little essence. It could be executed indefinitely until the essence was exhausted. It was no different from saber chi. This way, in terms of the quality of the saber chi, Xiao Chun had an advantage over Murong. Although it was not a big advantage, it increased his chances of victory. After practicing the 3 foundational moves, Xiao Chun started to practice the 3 killing moves. Wukuei shakes the heavens, Wukuei blossoms, and Wukuei supporting the heavens. Wukuei shakes the heavens was a separate move. As for Wukuei blossoms and Wukuei supporting the heavens, they had to be chained together in order to bring out their greatest might. After executing the 3 killing moves, Xiao Chun looked at the deep trenches on the ground and the purple electricity lingering in the air. He stopped and rested for a while. Wukuei breaks the heavens. Xiao Chun shouted and executed the 7th move according to the Wukuei saber technique's mental cultivation method. Immediately, an ancient divine tree slowly grew from its roots. However, before it finished growing, a saber light appeared on the saber, extending for 100 meters. Xiao Chun did not show much surprise on his face. He said softly, "I released it too early. The timing is not in sync with the circulation of essence." Again, boom! He failed the 2nd time. Like before, the saber chi only extended for 100 meters before it fell. Its might was not even as strong as glittering Wukuei. 2nd time, failure. 3rd time, failure. 4th time, failure. Xiao Chun could no longer remember how many times he had failed. However, he did not feel discouraged. Every time he failed, he would summarize the reason for his failure and continue trying. The killing move of the Wukuei saber technique was already very ferocious. It could kill an inferior grade martial king. Xiao Chun believed that the killing move would be even more ferocious. A regular peak inferior grade martial king might not be able to withstand it. Thus, it was expected that it would be harder to practice. Fortunately, Xiao Chun was someone who could endure loneliness. The repeated failures did not make him feel frustrated. Hu Qi, the divine Wukuei tree above Xiao Chun's head, had already grown to a near-perfect state. However, the light on the saber still lit up ahead of time, extending a 500-meter-long saber light. Wiping the sweat off his forehead, Xiao Chun encouraged himself. "Not bad. Just a little bit more, and I'll succeed." Continue. After practicing for such a long time, Xiao Chun had gained some understanding of the mysteries of Wukuei breaks the heavens. This move focused on the mysterious phenomenon, the speed of the circulation of quintessential energy, and the timing of the release. The three had to be completed at the same time to be able to execute this move. The so-called mysterious phenomenon naturally referred to the divine Wukuei tree above him. The latter two were easy to understand, but they were the hardest to do. By now, Xiao Chun had complete control over his phenomenon, and he could control the speed at which his quintessential chi circulated at will. The only thing he couldn't coordinate was the timing of the release. Unknowingly, the sky slowly darkened. Xiao Chun was still practicing this move without any discouragement. Wukuei breaks the heavens. Xiao Chun shouted, and the ancient divine Wukuei tree slowly formed. The instant the divine Wukuei tree completely formed, the lunar shadow saber in Xiao Chun's hand suddenly lit up with a resplendent saber light in the dark night. The saber light quickly elongated. In a breath of time, it extended by 1,000 meters. At the end of the saber light was a mountain wall. There was a loud rumble, and a bottomless cave appeared. Rocks fell down continuously. I finally succeeded. Xiao Chun revealed a gratified smile. Hard work pays off. I finally grasped this move. Next, I have to try to infuse the state of thunder into it. Only by infusing the state into the saber technique would I be able to bring out the might of this martial technique. Dark clouds churned endlessly in the sky. Low and deep thunder rumbled continuously. Occasionally, tiny bolts of lightning would tear through the night sky, illuminating the ground. Xiao Chun's expression was calm. He placed his right hand on the saber hilt and continuously gathered the state of thunder. The thunder in the sky grew louder and louder. It was like there was a huge army in the middle, galloping and roaring angrily. A boundless aura reverberated in the back mountains. A visible purple energy drifted in the air, giving off a ZZ sound. Wukuei breaks the heavens. Xiao Chun shouted, and the ancient divine Wukuei tree above his head grew rapidly. When the Wukuei tree was completely grown, Xiao Chun's right hand, which was on the saber hilt, immediately swung. Pusii, a resplendent pillar of light, appeared on the snow-white saber blade. The endless thunder in the sky suddenly stopped. The silence lasted for less than half a second. Suddenly, thunder resounded. A horrifying purple bolt of lightning tore through the dark clouds in the sky, tearing apart the dark night sky. It was like a berserk, roaring dragon descending from the sky. At this moment, Xiao Chun's aura was raised to its peak. He was like a treasured saber drawn from its scabbard, revealing its sharpness and sweeping through the surroundings. Everywhere he looked, it was like a sharp saber tearing through the air. Rumble! Xiao Chun's state and saber technique finally merged perfectly. The pillar of light on the saber quickly elongated. In the blink of an eye, the peak of the mountain 1,000 meters in front was struck by the pillar of light. The peak shattered and rocks fell from the sky. When the rocks came in contact with the pillar of light, they were immediately reduced to dust. The dust scattered with the wind and disappeared. Dang! Xiao Chun sheathed his saber, and the thunderclouds in the sky immediately vanished. The rumbling of thunder stopped. The night turned quiet once again. Only the sound of rocks falling could be heard. Xiao Chun revealed a joyful smile. He muttered, "In 2 days, I finally merged my state of thunder, and Wukuei breaks the heavens." This move is sufficient to show disdain for martial saints. In terms of might, it is only a hair's breadth away from an inferior grade heaven-ranked martial technique. Xiao Chun sat down cross-legged and took out a medial grade spirit stone. He quickly recovered his essence. After a while, the exhausted essence was completely replenished. However, the essence in the medial grade spirit stone had not been completely exhausted yet. Xiao Chun took advantage of the situation and entered a state of cultivation. He infused the remaining energy in the medial grade spirit stone into the chi whirlpool in his dantian. When the spirit stone was completely exhausted, the chi whirlpool expanded slightly. The amount of essence it could contain increased again. Xiao Chun was not in a rush to get up. Instead, He continued circulating the purple thunder divine incantation. He infused the energy he just absorbed into his body, turning it into his own cultivation. After the purple thunder divine incantation completed a great cycle, Xiao Chen suddenly opened his eyes. A purple light flashed in his pupils. Xiao Chen got up and looked at the distant horizon. A faint light appeared. Dawn was approaching. He said, "After the sky brightens, there are only 5 days left. The Wukuei breaks the heavens has just merged with the state. That means there are only 4 days left. Of the 4 days, I will use 3 days to practice the 8th move of the Wukuei saber technique. I will use the remaining day to consolidate and modify the rushing thunder roars. That way, I will have 3 trump cards." After taking out some simple food from the universe ring and consuming it, Xiao Chen continued to familiarize himself with merging the Wukuei breaks the heavens with the state of thunder. The vast Lingyun mountain range rose and fell in all directions. It was unknown how many meters wide it was. There were many desolate mountain peaks. On an extremely secluded mountain peak. On an incomparably secluded mountain peak, this mountain was very desolate. It was barren and did not have any vegetation. Aside from rocks, there were only rocks. Murong Chong stood quietly at the summit of the mountain with his eyes closed. The mountain was 2,000 meters tall. A strong wind blew, causing Murong Chong's clothes to flutter and his hair to flutter. "Xiao!" Murong Chong suddenly opened his eyes. The light in the depths of his eyes was withdrawn, and his hair stopped fluttering. When the wind blew past him, it seemed like it passed through his body, merging with the wind. The state of wind has finally reached great perfection. My speed can also reach the speed of sound in advance. Given this, I have a 70% chance of dodging his move. Murong Chong said indifferently. Right after he spoke, his body flashed. He followed the direction of the wind and drifted down. He did not make any sound. In the blink of an eye, he had traveled 500 meters. Murong Chong's body flickered continuously as he headed for the foot of the mountain. The clouds in the sky started to churn. Under the clear sky, they moved continuously. The clouds in the sky seemed to be pulled by a strange force and started to collide with each other. As the clouds collided, thunder roared from the 9 heavens. Pusiai! Murong Chong drew his saber ferociously, and a bolt of lightning shot down from the clouds. Before the lightning bolt landed, a strong gust of wind blew. With a schwa sound, the lightning merged with the strong wind. The formless wind instantly turned purple and formed a purple tornado. Lightning flickered in the wind, and thunder roared. Murong Chong's body rose from the ground. His figure was ethereal and formless in the air, like a cloud moving with the wind. The purple tornado behind him moved with his ethereal figure, moving up and down. Everywhere the tornado passed, countless tall rocks were crushed into dust by the purple tornado, filling the air with dust. As the wind blew, the dust flew everywhere, looking like yellow sand. Chasing clouds, chasing lightning. Murong Chong, who was moving erratically in the air, shouted, and the purple tornado changed. It turned into a purple flood dragon, flickering with flowing light. Then, it moved in the direction of Murong Chong's saber light and charged. The flood dragon was incredibly fast, almost faster than the speed of sound. It was a flood dragon made of lightning, clouds, and strong wind. With a loud bang, he crashed into a mountain peak. The mountain peak immediately collapsed and was directly crushed into countless amounts of powder, parting clouds, revealing the sky. Murong Chong shouted again and landed on the ground. His saber lit up with a resplendent light. In an instant, it stretched infinitely and rushed into the sky. The surging clouds were instantly scattered by the saber light, and the sun shone brightly, becoming even more intense. Rebuking the wind and clouds, Murong Chong roared ferociously. The cold saber light trembled uncontrollably. Chapter 293. A strong wind blew behind him, kicking up a boundless cloud of dust. The cloud churned in the sky, moving continuously for 18,000 meters. Immediately, The wind blew and the clouds churned. The sky changed color. Murong Chong's aura rushed to the nine heavens. It was like he was the only king in the world. As he stood there, he was like a treasured saber drawn from its scabbard. He could even pierce through the sky with it. When Murong Chong swung his saber, a cold saber light lit up. In an instant, the wind stopped and the clouds stopped moving. Only the saber light remained resplendent. Murong Chong relaxed his wrist, and the saber light immediately left the saber. It turned into a surging saber chi and charged towards the ground. A 10-meter wide and 30-meter deep gorge immediately appeared on the ground. The saber chi was like a pillar, flying for 5,000 meters before stopping. When one looked into the distance, one could not see the end of the 5-kilometer-long gorge. The remnant state of wind and cloud lingered in the gorge for a long time. Dust rose from the ground and danced chaotically in the wind. Dang! Murong Chong sheathed his saber and stood upright. He looked at the boundless dust in front and the horrifying gorge below. There was no expression on his stern face. He said indifferently, Lu Ryue will definitely tell Yi-chan about the 9 secret techniques of Qingyun Peak. I cannot use them as my true trump cards. Only the great perfection state of cloud and the self-created 3 styles of wind and cloud can be my true trump cards. Now that the state of wind has reached great perfection as well, the wind and cloud perfectly merged. No one under Martial King will be a match for me. The sun rose and set. The clouds gathered and dispersed. 5 days passed just like that. The 8th move of the Wukue saber technique was harder to learn than Xiao Chun had expected. He spent 3.5 days before he completely learned this move. Then, he merged it with the state of thunder. On the other hand, the adjustments to the rushing thunder roars were easier. Xiao Chun was already very familiar with this move when he was in the Devil Savannah. Now, he only changed the original group attack martial technique into a single target attack. There were not many changes to it. To Xiao Chun, who had consumed the flowing light flower, it was not difficult. Looking at the setting sun, Xiao Chun sheathed his saber and began his journey back to the mountain. He executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art, and his figure flickered, turning into a beam of purple light as he flew away. In less than the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, Xiao Chun returned to his own courtyard. He discovered that Lu Ryue, and Bai, who had been playing outside for the past few days, were waiting for him. Xiao Chun leaped into the air and landed firmly on the ground. He smiled faintly and said, "Why are you all here?" Lu Suifeng smiled and said, "With the great battle ahead, I will give you some encouragement. I will take my leave first. My sister will tell you some information about Murong Chong. I hope it will be of some help to you." After consuming the tendon refining flower, Lu Ryue's complexion was much redder than before. She no longer looked as weak as before. She wore the tight robes of a cultivator once again. After Lu Suifeng left, Lu Ryue got up and looked at Xiao Chun carefully. She discovered that his aura was much more vigorous than it was 5 days ago. His strength had improved greatly. "Come with me to the dueling grounds," Lu Ryue said softly as her red lips parted. Xiao Chun nodded and followed Lu Ryue to the dueling grounds. The two of them stood facing each other in the dueling grounds, separated by 5 meters. Lu Ryue said, "Before Murong Chong left Qingyun Peak, he was only slightly weaker than me. Now that 3 years have passed, his strength will only become more horrifying. I will tell you everything I know." Firstly, he learned 4 of the 9 secret techniques of Qingyun Peak. They're the profound wind chop, the peerless lunar shadow, the clear wind chop, and the flickering light passing shadow. You should be more familiar with the profound wind chop and the clear wind chop. I will demonstrate the peerless lunar shadow and the flickering light passing shadow for you. Xiao Chun quickly said, "Elder sister Ryue, just explain it to me. My meridians have just recovered. It is best not to use essence." Lu Ryue revealed a smile on her flirtatious face. "It's fine, I know my limits. Watch carefully first. This is the peerless lunar shadow." Kassier, Lu Ryue immediately drew her saber and sent out a cold saber light. Two crescent moon-shaped scarlet saber chi appeared on the tip of the saber. Following Lu Ryue's actions, the two crescent moons merged together and formed a full moon behind her. The dueling grounds suddenly turned pitch black. The scarlet full moon slowly rose up, illuminating the dark space with a scarlet light. Lu Ryue's body flew up together with the full moon. Under the illumination of the scarlet light, Lu Ryue's body was scarlet. She looked very bewitching and beautiful. The tip of the saber was pointed at Xiao Chun. The aura in this space seemed to have gathered at that point. Xiao Chun frowned slightly. He felt an indescribable pressure in his heart. The qi and blood in his body became restless uncontrollably. He felt an indescribable irritation. What a powerful martial technique. It can actually break my heart. Xiao Chun was secretly startled. He quickly calmed himself down and guarded his dantian. Only then did the uncomfortable feeling slowly disappear. Dang! Lu Ryue sheathed her saber and the mysterious phenomenon disappeared. Her body slowly fell to the ground. When she landed, she staggered and nearly fell over. Xiao Chun was startled and quickly went over to support Lu Ryue. When he saw Lu Ryue's face turn pale again, he said, "Don't risk your life. Elder Sister Ryue, just explain it to me. There is no need to demonstrate it." Lu Ryue revealed a bitter smile on her pale face. She struggled to stand up from Xiao Chen's grasp. "It looks like I'm forcing myself. Let me explain it to you in detail. Peerless lunar shadow is a mysterious phenomenon created by using one's own killing qi. This martial technique is derived from the Divine Saber Camp's blood shadow chop. The stronger a person's killing qi, the stronger the might of this martial technique. When you face this move, your heart cannot become chaotic. Otherwise, when the killing qi enters your body, you will not even have the chance to draw your saber." Xiao Chen nodded. "I understand. I felt it earlier. However, my character has always been tenacious. My heart will not become chaotic so easily." Seeing Xiao Chun being careless, Lu Ryue revealed a serious expression on her pale face. She said, "You cannot be careless." Back then, for the sake of practicing this move to great perfection, Murong Chong personally killed 50 groups of bandits in the Devil Savannah. If not 10,000 bandits died at his hands, there were at least 8,000. His killing qi is extremely horrifying. When Xiao Chun heard this, he was slightly startled. He did not expect Murong Chong to be so cold-blooded. For the sake of a martial technique, he dyed himself with the blood of tens of thousands of people. However, Xiao Chun remembered that when he saw Murong Chong, he did not feel any signs of killing qi leaking out. If what Lu Ryue said was true, then it could only mean that Murong Chong had already reached a level where he could release and withdraw his killing qi as he pleased. In order to hide so much killing qi, aside from strength, there was an even harsher requirement on one's temperament. What kind of person was this Murong Chong? He had a horrifying talent for cultivation, a cold-blooded and decisive personality, and an incomparably tenacious willpower. It was hard to find a weakness in such a person. Lu Ryue continued, "However, you don't have to mind it too much. If you are unable to defeat him in terms of killing qi, you can use this move to destroy the mysterious phenomenon in advance. You can destroy it before the two crescent moons meet." Xiao Chun thought, "This is a method. However, this move has to be fast enough for me to not be able to react in time." "Thank you, Elder Sister Ryue," Xiao Chun said seriously. Lu Ryue smiled faintly and continued. "The remaining move is flickering light passing shadow. I do not know this move as well. I only know that it is a cloning martial technique infused with the state of light. It can condense countless clones, making it hard to distinguish the real from the fake in the sky, filled with light and shadows. However, Murong Chong's main cultivation is the state of wind. You should not spend too much time practicing this move. You just need to know about it." After that, Lu Ryue explained Murong Chong's other strengths to Xiao Chun in detail. The worry in her eyes did not disappear for even a moment. "Remember, at the crucial moment, do not risk your life. Your life is always the most important. To me, Even if I managed to keep this Qingyan peak, it would be a great regret if you are not around. So, you must promise me, just admit defeat if you cannot defeat him." Just as Xiao Chen was about to leave, Lu Riyue spoke to him in a serious tone. When Xiao Chen agreed, Lu Riyue revealed a satisfied smile and left the dueling grounds. Early the next morning, the breaking sun shone through the window into Xiao Chen's bedroom. Feeling the piercing gaze, Xiao Chen immediately woke up from his sleep. With a huge battle looming over him, he did not cultivate. Instead, he took a good nap, resting his body and mind. After washing up, Xiao Chen felt energized. His entire body, both inside and out, was in peak condition. Lu Riyue and Lu Suifeng were already waiting outside the courtyard. After asking around, Xiao Chen found out that the Peak Master Contest would not be held on the Heaven Viewing platform, which he was very familiar with. Instead, it would be held on the Heaven Ascending platform, which he had been to once before. Lu Riyue waved her hand at the sky. A huge heavenly winged eagle circled in the air before landing in front of everyone with a strong gust of wind. After the three of them jumped onto the heavenly wind eagle, the person riding the heavenly wind eagle shouted. The heavenly wind eagle immediately soared into the sky with a berserk wind. Normally, aside from major events, there would not be a single person on the Heaven Ascending platform of the Lingyun mountain range. However, there was an endless stream of people going up the mountain. It was very lively. There was a huge dueling ground on the platform. Spectator seats surrounded it. In the middle, there was a huge arena that was 2,000 meters long and 100 meters wide. There was no need to wonder why the arena was so big. It was because every Peak Master Contest involved battles between martial kings. For a battle of this level, a regular arena would not be enough for them to display their full potential. Murong Chong stood expressionlessly in a corner of the arena with his eyes closed. The spectator seats were filled with people. Furthermore, there were many cultivators rushing over in this direction. It is the Peak Master Contest again. I did not expect Murong Chong to attack Qingyan Peak. Unfortunately, Lu Riyue is injured. Qingyan Peak will not be able to hold on this time. That might not be the case. Yi Chun is now a super genius who can defeat the experts of the older generation. In terms of talent, he is definitely not weaker than Murong Chong. His chances of victory should be 50-50. Chapter 294. Haha, you are too naive. Murong Chong was already a peak superior grade martial saint long ago. It is not like there were no experts of the older generation that died at his hands. The two of them might have the same talent, but in terms of cultivation, Xiao Chun is weaker. He does not have much of a chance of victory against Murong Chong. I think so too. Murong Chong's strength has always been very stable. Furthermore, he has practiced all of Qingyan Peak's secret techniques to great perfection. The cultivation techniques and martial techniques he practices are all at the peak of his generation. Furthermore, he has a flawless character. It is hard to imagine that he would lose to Yi Chun. However, why is Yi Chun not here yet? I heard that Mu Chengxue fell last night and has not left the arena since then. Before the fight started, the crowd had already started discussing the two fervently. Although the results were mostly in favor of Murong Chong, they were certain of Xiao Chen's strength. They felt that Murong Chong would not win easily. This would never have happened in the past. However, the series of events proved that Xiao Chen's strength was not just for show. It was real and not an exaggeration. Murong Chong, who was in the arena, did not care about the discussions around him. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and saw a heavenly wind eagle flying towards him. He said indifferently, "He is finally here." When Xiao Chun saw Murong Chong waiting for him in the arena, he calmed himself and leaped off the heavenly wind eagle. He landed firmly in the arena. Lu Riyue watched the two people about to fight. Her heart was filled with complicated emotions. She muttered softly, "I hope nothing happens to them." Seeing Xiao Chun land, an old man who was a medial-grade martial king immediately walked over. He would be the referee for this fight. At the same time, he was also a member of the Elders' Assembly. The old man waved his hand, and the two of them moved back 100 meters. Then, he said indifferently, There is no such thing as leniency in the fight for the peak master position. However, I will only say one thing. We are all from the same sect. If one side admits defeat, please stop. Cut the crap. Let the fight begin. The victor will decide who Qin Yun Peak belongs to. After the old man finished speaking, he lightly tapped the ground with his toes and quickly retreated. Murong Chong and Xiao Chun were separated by 200 meters. They looked at each other and placed their right hands on their saber hilts. Their auras gathered continuously. At this moment, the originally noisy spectator stands were completely silent. Countless pairs of eyes were staring at the two people in the arena. Hu Qi. A red light flashed in Murong Chong's eyes. The killing chi that he had been suppressing followed this gaze and shot toward Xiao Chun. The murderous aura was almost tangible, rippling like water in the air, compressing and enveloping a 1-meter radius around Xiao Chun. Instantly, countless miserable cries rang out in Xiao Chen's ears. Horrifying images appeared before his eyes. These were the resentment left behind by the people Murong Chong killed. Indeed, he can withdraw and release his killing chi as he pleases. No, it is even more profound than that. He is able to surround me with his killing chi and not disperse it. Such a method is already a high-level technique for controlling killing chi. Xiao Chun was mildly astonished as he thought to himself. However, his expression remained calm. There were no fluctuations in his emotions. Focusing and guarding his chi, Xiao Chen's heart was incomparably calm. A clear glow appeared in his calm eyes. His strong spiritual sense protected his heart, not being affected by the killing chi. He allowed the strong killing chi to reverberate around him. Xiao Chen's gaze remained incomparably clear, guarding his heart. Slowly, those illusions broke by themselves and disappeared. Murong Chong's grave and stern face did not show any expression. When he saw that the killing chi was useless, he decisively withdrew it. Hoo-hoo! In the arena, a strong wind suddenly blew behind Murong Chong, kicking up a large cloud of dust. Occasionally, there were angry roars coming from the wind. Thunderclouds gathered above Xiao Chen's head, churning continuously. Muffled thunder resounded continuously. The auras that the two had been accumulating for a long time finally erupted. They started to compete in states. The berserk state of wind against the surging state of thunder. Immediately, the wind blew and the clouds churned. The sky changed color. The sun in the sky was covered by the dark clouds, completely losing its light. The arena turned dark. Furthermore, the strong wind kicked up a cloud of dust. Aside from a few cultivators with good eyesight, most of the spectators could not see the situation in the arena clearly. How powerful! Before the duel officially started, the competition of states is already so horrifying. No wonder they can fight across cultivation realms and kill inferior grade martial kings. The people in the spectator stands were astonished. Dang! In that instant, two resplendent saber lights lit up in the boundless strong wind. The sharp saber lights immediately scattered the dust on the arena. The two of them drew their sabers at the same time and sent out a strand of saber chi each. When the saber chi clashed in the air, it created a surging shockwave that spread out. Murong Chong was somewhat astonished to discover that the density of his saber chi was not as strong as Xiao Chen's. After the purple saber chi shattered his saber chi, it weakened significantly. However, it still quickly flew towards Murong Chong. Murong Chong pushed off the ground and silently leaped forward. He swung his saber and easily shattered the weakened purple saber chi. Then, he rushed at Xiao Chun without slowing down. Xiao Chun did not show any fear. He shouted and charged forward as well. Dang! 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 The sounds of weapons clashing resounded in the arena. Instantly, the sound of wind, thunder, and the clanging of weapons merged together and reverberated in the arena. In the blink of an eye, the two of them exchanged dozens of moves. They countered each other's moves, not giving way to each other. After a while, they shouted and retreated 100 meters. The strong wind scattered and the dust settled. The situation of the arena returned to the crowd's eyes. The gazes of the two were like sabers clashing intensely in the air. Xiao Chun held his saber tightly in his right hand. He maintained a high level of vigilance. This was because the earlier exchanges were just probing moves. Next, they would be fighting for real. Murong Chong revealed a faint smile on his stern face. He said, "After not seeing you for a month, your strength has indeed improved beyond my expectations. You are now qualified to challenge me. However, that is only the right to challenge me." Qingyan Peak's secret technique, Peerless Lunar Shadow. Murong Chong shouted ferociously, and the saber in his hand danced around. Two scarlet saber chi of the crescent moon moved in two beautiful arcs in the air as they flew at Xiao Chun. The saber chi contained a boundless killing chi. Everywhere it passed, scarlet ribbons appeared. They looked very beautiful, as if they were blood. Glittering wukuei. Knowing how powerful the Peerless Lunar Shadow was, Xiao Chun did not dare to be careless. He brandished the snow-white lunar shadow 9 times in the air, bringing out the glittering wukuei to its limits. The 9 divine wukuei tree branches turned into dense saber chi. They were like spears stabbing at the scarlet saber chi in the air. Murong Chong smiled faintly and shook the saber in his wrist. The 2 scarlet crescent moons paused in the air for a moment. Then, they strangely moved in a semicircle. The point where the crescent moons intersected was where Xiao Chun stood. With such a sudden change, he dodged the 9 purple saber chi that Xiao Chun sent out. Windwalk shoes activate. Retreat. The speed of the crescent moons instantly reached the speed of sound. Murong Chong had actually infused the state of wind into them. Xiao Chun did not dare to be careless. He activated the Windwalk shoes and circulated the Blue Dragon Cloud soaring art. His body turned into a purple arrow as he retreated. Bang! The instant Xiao Chun retreated, the 2 crescent moons merged together and formed a scarlet full moon on the ground. A horrifying red shockwave spread out in all directions. When the shockwave radiated outwards, a mud wall rose up from the ground. Even though Xiao Chun had already avoided it, the speed and might of the shockwave from the Scarlet Moon still surpassed his expectations. The surging shockwave struck Xiao Chun's body and pushed him back a few hundred meters. The killing chi contained in the shockwave roared in his mind continuously. Xiao Chun's chi and blood surged, and resentment filled his mind. All the blood in his body surged uncontrollably. An irresistible frustration and a desire to massacre rose in his heart. Damn it! Xiao Chun no longer cared about his pride. He circulated his essence and gathered the surging chi and blood. Then he opened his mouth and spat it out. The surging chi and blood and the boundless killing chi all vanished. Up in the spectator stands, Lu Ruyue frowned tightly. Worry was written all over her charming face. She did not expect Xiao Chun to suffer a small loss at the start of the fight. Murong Chong's comprehension of the Peerless Lunar Shadow had already reached the peak of consummation. When he infused it with the berserk state of wind, he pushed the might of this move to a horrifying limit. Murong Chong's body slowly flew up into the sky. The 2 crescent moon-shaped saber chi on the ground separated and flew back behind him. The crescent moons merged together and formed a true blood moon. A pitch-black night descended, blocking out all the sunlight. It also covered up the dark clouds that Xiao Chun's state of thunder brought, leaving not a trace behind. Xiao Chun's connection to the state of thunder was completely severed. Xiao Chun was greatly astonished. He tried a few times, but discovered that he could not connect to his state of thunder. Under the cover of the night, he had completely severed his connection to the outside world. This is the effect of a consummation mysterious phenomenon. It can form something like a barrier. Xiao Chun's state of thunder has been cut off. I did not expect Murong Chong to have comprehended his mysterious phenomenon to consummation. This is something that several martial kings are unable to do. Indeed, the mysterious phenomenon has little to do with cultivation. It relies entirely on one's talent and comprehension ability. After losing the state of thunder, Xiao Qian's situation is worrying. The knowledgeable people in the spectator stands all side. Murong Chong comprehended the mysterious phenomenon of consummation. Such a martial king could be said to be an unrivaled existence. Fighting against those of a higher cultivation realm, killing a regular inferior grade martial king would be as easy as killing a dog. Lu Riyue's heart was in her mouth. Murong Chong was much stronger than she had imagined. Even she would have a headache dealing with this move. When Xiao Qian saw the scarlet full moon rising higher in Murong Chong, who was illuminated by the scarlet light of the full moon, his heart slowly calmed down. Chapter 295. If he had thought of a way to break the two scarlet saber chi earlier, he would not be in such a situation. Unfortunately, he was not decisive enough at that time. He did not want to exhaust too much essence in one go. Xiao Qian blamed himself in his heart. However, this was not the time for regrets. He was far from the final step. His confidence could not be shaken. Since he could not use the state of thunder, the might of the Wukuei saber technique would be significantly reduced. If he could not use it to break this situation, then there was no need to mention the Ling Yun saber technique. He could only think of another way. I got it. Suddenly, Xiao Qian thought of a way to break this situation. Since he could not use his state, then he would use his strongest mysterious phenomenon to clash with it. Thinking of this, Xiao Qian's frown slowly relaxed. He shouted, and the snow-white lunar shadow saber in his hand suddenly gave off a glass-like glow. Flight on wings, moon bright like fire. A golden full moon slowly rose up behind Xiao Qian, matching the scarlet moon in the sky. The faint golden moonlight sprinkled down a gentle light that shone on the ground, forming a sharp contrast with the bright and glistening blood moon. What's going on? A full moon appeared behind Xiao Qian as well. Someone in the spectator stands exclaimed. What is he trying to do? His mysterious phenomenon has clearly not reached consummation. If he uses it to clash with Murong Chong, he will definitely be at a disadvantage, Lu Suifeng said anxiously. Looking at the rising full moon, Lu Riyue suddenly understood Xiao Qian's intentions. The worry on her face lessened. At least this peerless lunar shadow would not pose a fatal threat to Xiao Qian. The golden full moon was as bright as fire in the sky. A resolute expression flashed on Xiao Qian's face. He shouted, and the full moon headed straight for Murong Chong. What is he trying to do? Clashing with his mysterious phenomenon? This is too crazy. Doing this will harm the enemy and himself. In such a situation, there is actually no other choice. What Yi Chun is doing is the only way to break Murong Chong's mysterious phenomenon. When the people below saw Xiao Qian controlling the bright moon and sending it crashing into the full moon behind Murong Chong, they were all astonished. Murong Chong's face, which had been calm all this while, also revealed faint shock. Then he smiled coldly and said, "Since you want to fight, I will fulfill your wish." Xiao Qian shouted, and the scarlet full moon gave off a resplendent red light. It carried a boundless killing chi as it flew towards the golden moon, controlled by Xiao Qian without hesitation. The golden yellow and blood-red moons streaked across the sky, causing ripples to appear in space wherever they passed, as if they were about to shatter. Bang! The two moons clashed violently in the sky, creating a loud explosion. The entire arena on the heaven-ascending platform started to shake. The spectators, who were sitting far away, also started to shake. The ground kept shaking as if it was going to split open. It made people feel fear for no reason. Too strong. This is comparable to a battle between martial kings, a disciple in the distance said. Xiao. The two full moons shattered at the same time. The pitch-black space immediately shattered into pieces. The sunlight that had not shone for a long time impatiently shone down from the sky. At first, there was only one strand. Then there were 2 strands, 3 strands. Suddenly, the light spread out rapidly. The sky above the arena turned bright once more. The complexions of Xiao Qian and Murong Chong were somewhat pale. This was a clash of mysterious phenomena that were of equal strength. This was a significant blow to both sides. However, Murong was in a slightly better state than Xiao Chun. Although his mysterious phenomenon was of equal strength to Xiao Chen's, it had already reached consummation. After all, it was still slightly stronger. After resting for a moment, Murong shouted and raised his saber. Then, he turned into a cool breeze and charged over again. However, there was no killing chi on his body, not even a trace of killing intent. Finally, his figure strangely vanished from everyone's sight. Was it the clear wind chop again? Xiao Chun wiped the blood from the corner of his lips and revealed a cold smile. Murong had not practiced the clear wind chop to consummation. He had only perfectly merged the great perfection clear wind chop with the state of wind. That was how he managed to achieve such an effect. This move was Murong signature move. This was the first time Xiao Chun had encountered it. Even so, he was at a loss as to what to do. However, after Xiao Chun perfectly merged the state of thunder with the saber technique, he no longer had a headache dealing with this move. Wu Kuei transforms to Qi. Xiao Chun shouted, and an ancient divine tree appeared from nowhere. It turned into strands of purple saber Qi dancing around in the air. Rumble! The thunder clouds above Xiao Chen's head gathered again, churning continuously. The state of thunder and saber technique merged perfectly. As Xiao Chun made his move, thunder roared in the sky. Murong, who was hidden in the cool breeze, frowned when he saw the purple saber Qi filling the sky. These saber Qi, infused with the state of thunder, could already injure Murong, who was hidden in the wind. With such a large area, he would not be able to approach safely. Xiao Chun extended out his spiritual sense and scanned the area continuously. Finally, he felt an unusual fluctuation in the direction of 8 o'clock. Qi breaks Wu Kuei. Without any hesitation, the instant Xiao Chun discovered that blurry figure, he immediately executed the third move of the Wu Kuei saber technique. Thunder roared in the sky. The countless strands of purple saber Qi in the air merged into an incomparably resplendent saber Qi the instant the thunder roared. Then, it flew towards the place where Xiao Chun sensed it. The instant the thunder roared, Murong felt a trace of danger. However, just as he was about to make a move, he discovered that the resplendent saber Qi was already before him as the thunder roared. The speed of that saber Qi actually surpassed the speed of sound in that instant. Regardless of whether he moved to the left or right, he would not be able to dodge it. Flickering light passing shadow. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Murong figure suddenly appeared. A bright light exploded in Xiao Chen's vision. The light was so dazzling that it hurt his eyes. Oh no, it's flickering light passing shadow. Quickly close your eyes. Under the illumination of this dazzling light, some of the cultivators and the spectators stands who were stunned by the sudden appearance of this light felt a stinging pain in their eyes. They were temporarily blinded. Instantly, there were many miserable cries. Some of the smarter cultivators had already closed their eyes and dodged this calamity. Pu Ci. The resplendent saber Qi formed by the Qi breaks Wu Kuei crashed into the light with a loud boom. The light scattered. Murong figure split into 9. Each of his figures flickered with a white light. The white light merged together, dazzling everyone's eyes. It was hard to tell which was the real one. Roaming dragons, 9 transformations, clear wind chop. Xiao Chun squinted his eyes, and his figure wavered. He turned into 9 cool breezes. Each breeze carried a figure as they charged at Murong figure. Dang, dang, dang. A chaotic battle immediately broke out in the arena. 18 figures fought in this manner on the arena. The sounds of sabers clashing mixed with the light and shadows. It was too much for the spectators to keep up, making them feel dizzy. Logically speaking, Xiao Chen's martial technique, which merged the roaming dragon's 9 transformations and the clear wind chop, should be stronger than Murong flickering light passing shadow. Unfortunately, Murong was very familiar with the clear wind chop. The hidden killing intent was ineffective against him. Furthermore, this was the first time Xiao Chun came into contact with the flickering light passing shadow. Under the situation where his vision was affected, he was at a disadvantage. I can't go on like this. I have to use a killing move, Xiao Chun thought to himself. Wukuei blossoms. Xiao Chun shouted, and suddenly, a purple light flowed out from the feet of the 9 figures. 9 flower buds appeared on the ground and wrapped around Xiao Chen's figure. When Murong Chong's saber struck the flower buds, it did not cause any ripples. It could not stop the flower bud from growing. Flickering light passing shadow, 9 figures combined chop. With a hula sound, the 9 figures that Murong Chong had turned and emerged together, flickering with layers of white light. They turned into a beam of light and rushed forward. In the instant Murong Chong's 9 figures merged, the 9 flower buds on the ground also merged together. Boom! The instant the flower buds merged, they suddenly bloomed. Purple petals filled the air. Xiao Chun pushed off the ground and passed through the petals, rushing towards Murong Chong, who had turned into a beam of light. Beams of purple light landed on Xiao Chen's body from the petals, instantly increasing his speed to Mach 2. The purple figure and the white figure both tore through the air, leaving behind long shock waves. They instantly crossed each other among the petals. Pussy-eye. In the instant they crossed each other, the two of them each sent out a saber strike at lightning speed. After that, their figures continued rushing forward. After Murong Chong stabilized himself, he looked at the blood spurting out his chest. There was a look of disbelief on his stern face. How can he be faster than me? In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiao Chen's saber had stabbed into his chest. However, the tip of his saber had only pierced the afterimage that Xiao Chun left behind. The petals that filled the air quickly poured into the wound on Murong Chong's chest. Dang! 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 Murong Chong brought out his state of wind to its limits. Saber lights flickered and chopped the petals flying at him into nothing. Only less than 10 petals flew in. Xiao Chen frowned. Only 10 petals flew in. Given this, the might of Wukuei supporting the heavens would be significantly weakened. The trees supporting the heavens would not be able to grow. However, the arrow had to be fired. If Xiao Chun hesitated and Murong Chong forced out these 9 petals, everything would be for naught. Xiao Chun shouted. Wukuei, supporting the heavens, explode. The churning thunderclouds above immediately gave off a loud sound. The instant the thunder roared, an explosion came from Murong Chong's chest. The wound on Murong Chong's chest suddenly exploded. His body was flung to the ground by the shockwave. How can this be? Murong Chong was actually blasted away. From the start of the duel until now, not only did Xiao Chun, who was not favored by the crowd, not crumble, he had also persisted for a long time. Xiao Chun had persisted for such a long time and did not fall into too much of disadvantage. Now, he even blasted Murong Chong into the air. This was too unexpected. Wukuei shakes the heavens. Xiao Chen's aura flourished. Taking advantage of Murong Chong's weakened momentum, he leaped into the air and executed the other killing move of the Wukuei saber technique. The divine Wukuei tree descended from the air. It was like a mountain pressing down on Murong Chong, who was on the ground. However, just at this moment, layers of white clouds appeared in the sky. They occupied half the sky, reducing the thunderclouds formed by Xiao Chen's state of thunder by half. Chapter 296. The state of thunder contained in the Wukuei shakes the heavens immediately weakened. Its might weakened significantly. When Murong Chong, who was on the ground, saw the Wukuei tree and Xiao Chun descend from the sky, he revealed a cold and emotionless smile. Xiao Chun was startled. He thought to himself, oh no. Murong Chong actually cultivated 2 states, wind and cloud merging, the clouds borrowing the might of the wind. Xiao Chen's state of thunder was completely suppressed. Murong Chong slowly stood up from the ground. A purple bolt of lightning appeared above the clouds, tearing through the dark arena. Oh! A gust of wind suddenly rose, and with a swoosh, the lightning fused with it, forming a terrifying purple tornado. Murong Chong pointed his saber, and the purple tornado immediately headed for Shao Chun and the divine Wukuei tree. Bang! 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 The berserk purple tornado merged the energy of wind and lightning. It had the attribute of lightning and the berserk of wind. Its might was equal to a superior grade earth-ranked martial technique. When the tornado struck the Wukuei tree, the two martial techniques that contained electricity radiated horrifying electricity. Silver snakes danced in the air, and the air was filled with electricity the size of small snakes. Murong Chong struck the Wukuei tree a total of 5 times. Every time he struck, there would be a loud, crackling sound. The color of Shao Chen's divine Wukuei tree dimmed significantly. After the 5th strike, the divine Wukuei tree that Shao Chen materialized completely disappeared. Without the obstruction of the Wukuei tree, the horrifying purple tornado headed for Shao Chen with a berserk aura. Retreat. With the state of thunder suppressed, Shao Chen did not dare to clash head-on. He could only dodge first and activate the windwalk shoes. His speed reached the speed of sound as he retreated. Hu Qi. Murong Chong's figure suddenly appeared beside the purple tornado. He moved erratically. He had the berserk nature of the wind and the ethereal nature of the clouds. When the two were combined, it was hard to catch him. Dang! A saber light hacked at Shao Chun from a strange angle. Shao Chun swung his saber to block. A berserk energy came from above and immediately shattered the state of thunder contained in the saber technique. Retreat again. Using this energy, Shao Chun retreated again. His right hand, which held his saber, felt numb. He nearly lost his grip on his saber. As Shao Chun retreated continuously, the thunderclouds in the sky were suppressed by his opponent's state of wind and cloud. Murong Chong's aura flourished, turning the situation around in an instant. Give up. Although your state of thunder is pure, it has no chance against my state of wind. Murong Chong's voice rang out in the air, following Murong Chong's erratic figure. It came from all directions, making it hard to tell where it came from. His voice lingered in the wind for a long time. Murong Chong is indeed Murong Chong. He actually hid himself so deeply. Aside from the great perfection state of wind, he also has the great perfection state of cloud. Most importantly, he merged them so perfectly. He truly lives up to his reputation as the top ranker of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's wind cloud list. Yi Chen's state of thunder state. Yi Chen's state thunder state is Yi has Chun. Chen's heaven has. Looks like Murong Chong's undefeatable legend will continue for a while. Among the younger generation, at least in the Shiha province, there is no one who can defeat him. In the entire Great Qin nation, he can be ranked in the top 3. The situation was clear. Murong Chong, who had executed his state of cloud, had completely turned the situation around. The advantage that Shao Chun had just gained was gone. He could only passively be suppressed. Everyone believed that when Shao Chen's state of thunder was compressed to the point where it completely disappeared, it would be the moment of his defeat. A desolate expression flashed on Lu Riyue's face. She was no longer worried about whether Shao Chun could protect Qingyun Peak or not. She only hoped that he could survive. Furthermore, she did not want him to lose the sharpness of a cultivator, especially the sharpness of a bladesman. This was what she was most worried about. Even in such a situation, Shao Chen's heart was still very calm. It was like there was a strange feeling in his heart. The surrounding discussions and Murong Chong's words did not affect him at all. Shao Chen's mind was very clear. He continued to think of a way to break out of this situation. The reason why he was in such a passive state was undoubtedly because his state was suppressed. This was the first time he encountered such a situation. Although he knew that states were important, he did not expect them to be this important. Without the support of a strong state, the Wukuei shakes the heavens could not even compare to his opponent's purple tornado. At this moment, even if Shao Chun executed the sure-kill martial technique of the Wukuei saber technique, it would be hard for him to achieve the might he expected. Without the support of a state, it would be hard for him to advance. In the past 7 days, Shao Chun had put the cart before the horse. He should not have spent too much time practicing new martial techniques. Instead, he should have strengthened his own state. Xiao Qin's state was not strong by itself. However, because he cultivated the purple thunder divine incantation, his state was much purer than a regular cultivator's. His peak small perfection state could suppress his opponent's great perfection state. From the start of the duel, Xiao Qin was able to hold his own against Murong Chong, whose cultivation was much higher than his. This was mainly because of this. However, it was not too late to realize this. Even if he lost today, he had already gained a lot. His future would be much clearer. Bang! Bang! While Xiao Qin was thinking, his hands did not stop moving. He extended his spiritual sense and did his best to capture the erratic Murong Chong's figure, blocking all the saber techniques he sent at him. In the sky, Xiao Qin's state of thunder had already been pushed to the final step. Only a patch of thunderclouds remained bitterly holding on. The surroundings were filled with churning white clouds infused with the state of wind. The white clouds churned boundlessly, raising Murong Chong's aura to its peak. Murong Chong looked at Xiao Qin, who had already retreated to a corner. He said indifferently, "Let's end this." 3 moves of wind and cloud, chasing clouds and chasing lightning. Murong Chong roared ferociously. The horrifying purple tornado turned into a flood dragon about 100 meters long. The dense dragon scales on the body of the flood dragon were clearly visible. It was like a real flood dragon. White clouds floated around the flood dragon. With a schwa sound, it emerged from the clouds. It opened its mouth and spat out a strand of azure smoke. Then it roared at Xiao Qin. The berserk flood dragon's speed had already surpassed the speed of sound. It was very close to Mach 2. It did not give Xiao Qin any time to think before it arrived before him. When the people in the arena saw the roaring flood dragon flying at Xiao Qin, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. Lu Riyue could not help but stand up from her seat. She opened her mouth, wanting to say something. Bang! 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 The instant the flood dragon swallowed up Xiao Qin, there was an intense explosion. A blue dragon circled around Xiao Qin's right arm. Although the blue dragon was small, it was the martial spirit of an ancient holy beast. It was a real deal. No matter how realistic the small flood dragon was, it was just a fake dragon. How could it be a match for a real dragon? The blue dragon immediately broke it apart and exploded into a shockwave. After the blue dragon broke apart the chasing clouds and chasing lightning, it had not used up all the energy it contained. It opened its mouth and let out a resounding dragon roar. The might of a holy beast spread throughout the entire arena. All the cultivators and the spectator stands felt their hearts tremble. This dragon roar actually contained the might of a holy emperor. Murong Chong frowned and condensed a berserk wind wall to block in front of him. He wanted to block this attack. The blue dragon martial spirit hidden in the 300-odd acupoints of his body was Xiao Qin's true trump card. However, Xiao Qin would not use this trump card unless he had no other choice. The blue dragon martial spirit had disappeared for 1,000 years. It was a mysterious existence. If the identity of the blue dragon martial spirit was made known, it might cause some unnecessary waves. However, Murong Chong's earlier move was too dangerous. Xiao Qin, whose state was suppressed, had no other way to block or dodge. There was no other way to block it, nor was there any way to avoid it. He could only take out this trump card. Otherwise, he might die from this move. In the sky, the surging white clouds that had been suppressing Xiao Qin's state of thunder unexpectedly started to shrink back. The holy might contained in the dragon roar actually forced back Murong Chong's state. Bang! 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 The blue dragon broke through the wind wall that Murong Chong laid and gave off a piercing screech. Seeing that the wind wall could not block the blue dragon, Murong Chong made a prompt decision and quickly retreated. Murong Chong's figure flickered in the air. With every step he took, he laid down a wall of wind. The blue dragon seemed to have a life of its own as it chased after him, not letting up. The blue dragon chased for more than a kilometer before it ran out of energy and turned into nothingness, disappearing into the air. The azure dragon actually contains a holy might. What is going on? Could it be that his martial spirit is also inherited from the ancient era? After Murong Chong landed, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. However, he was filled with doubts. Rumble. Just at this moment, the muffled thunder that had lingered in the arena for a long time resounded again. Xiao Chen's state of thunder reached its peak once again. Murong Chong's expression changed. He saw that the originally small patch of thunderclouds in the sky was now standing on equal footing with his white clouds. They each stood on one side of the arena, not giving way at all. This was the final decisive moment. Xiao Chun did not want to give his opponent another chance to force back his state. Wu Kuei breaks the heavens. Xiao Chun shouted and a loud clap of thunder resounded. The ancient divine Wu Kuei tree above Xiao Chen's head grew rapidly as the thunder roared. The instant the divine Wu Kuei tree finished growing, a resplendent saber pillar soared up from the saber. It soared into the sky and quickly elongated. It was like it was going to break the sky and shatter the ground. Damn it! Murong Chong's expression turned sullen. He had not expected Xiao Chun to turn the situation where he was bound to lose into such a draw. However, there was no time for Murong Chong to think. That resplendent pillar of light contained the horrifying state of thunder quickly headed for him. 3 moves of wind and cloud, parting clouds revealing the sky. Murong Chong roared ferociously. His long hair and clothes fluttered, and a strong wind blew around him. The white clouds in the sky drifted. A resplendent pillar of light lit up on the saber as well. It carried the state of wind and cloud as it clashed with Xiao Chen's Wu Kuei breaks the heavens. 2 pillars of light, one white and one purple, quickly pulled apart. After a while, they crashed into each other. Bang! When the 2 pillars of light clashed, a huge whirlpool of primal chaos appeared on the ground. It immediately blasted a large hole in the ground. A large amount of dust flew into the air from the hole. A visible shockwave spread out in all directions, blowing away all the dust on the arena. Chapter 297. The ground of the entire arena cracked. Countless huge chunks of mud flew through the air, kicking up a cloud of dust. The ground was shaved off by more than 10 meters. It was clear how horrifying the might of these 2 moves was. Seeing the shockwave coming at him, Xiao Chun shouted and stabbed out with his saber. He immediately broke through the surging shockwave. His spiritual sense locked onto Murong Chong's figure, and he quickly rushed over. The huge rocks and mud in front of him were all chopped apart by his saber. They could not stop Xiao Chun at all. Murong Chong's expression turned sullen. He sent out a few strands of vigorous saber chi, shattering the shockwave and rocks. Then, he sensed Xiao Chen's figure in the wind. Murong Chong snorted coldly and pushed off the ground heavily, leaping over. Xiao! Amidst the dust and howling wind, the 2 of them saw each other at the same time. They leaped into the air, and their killing chi clashed in the air. They did not hesitate to attack. Dang! 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 The entire arena was filled with lingering electricity and wind and clouds. There were also huge chunks of mud flying in the air and dust covering the sky. It was very chaotic. All the spectators on the heaven ascending platform stood up and used their vision, trying to see the situation below the arena clearly. Why can't I see anything? What happened to the 2 of them? I can only hear their voices. I can see a little more clearly. However, the 2 of them are too fast. I can only see 2 blurry figures. There is too much dust. Furthermore, the electricity and strong wind are interfering with my vision. However, the 2 of them are fighting very intensely. They're going crazy. Even though they used their vision, there were still many cultivators with insufficient cultivation who could not see the situation clearly. Only a small portion of the core disciples with deep cultivations could vaguely make out the 2's figures. However, they could not completely understand. Aside from the people from the Elders' Assembly, only Lu Riyue could see the situation clearly. Sis, what's the situation? Lu Suifeng asked anxiously beside Lu Riyue. Lu Riyue had a complicated expression. Her normally resolute eyes were now filled with pain and conflict. She said in a trembling voice, "They are crazy. How could it be like this?" Dust flew everywhere, lightning flashed, and strong winds howled in the arena. Murong Chong and Xiao Chun were covered in blood. Not a single part of their clothes was intact. The two of them moved around on the ground. Their speeds were similar. It was very difficult to dodge each other's attacks and injure each other. Basically, if you injure me, I can immediately stab you back. At this moment, both of them were in a killing frenzy. They did not care about the wounds on their bodies as they circulated their vital energy to the extreme. You are more ruthless than me. I am more ruthless than you. It all depends on who can last longer. Both sides had their own advantages. Xiao Qin's advantage was his strong physical body. His physical endurance was stronger than Murong Chong's. Murong Chong. Xiao Qin of Xiao Qin's was his cultivation. Murov Chun of energy. Qi. Of Chun, then of them. Of them of they of them. Of was. Pu Ci. A bolt of lightning descended and turned a flying piece of mud into dust. Xiao Qin's saber strike infused with the state of thunder clashed with Murong Chong's saber strike infused with the state of strong wind and cloud. When the sabers clashed, there was a piercing metallic sound in the air. When the two states clashed, an intense shockwave burst forth. All the dust within 100 meters was instantly cleared. The two of them each retreated 100 meters. Blood dripped from the snow-white sabers. Dita, Dita, Murong Chong said coldly, determined victory with one saber strike. Sure, Xiao Chun replied indifferently as he tightened his grip on the saber hilt. The blood on the saber hilt was connected to his palm. It was like the saber was a part of his flesh. After fighting for so long, the two of them understood that if this continued, there would be no result. Determining victory with one move was the best way to resolve this stalemate. Right after Murong Chong spoke, a strong wind immediately gathered behind him. In an instant, all the dust, dirt, and electricity scattered in all directions were expelled. Only the purest state of wind remained. Clouds churned in the sky, moving continuously and quickly. The sky changed color as the wind blew and the clouds churned. Murong Chong's aura soared rapidly. The state of kingship emanated from his body. Even though there was only a trace of this king's will, it was filled with an unparalleled might, and it spread to the surrounding spectator stands. Everyone could feel this king's aura, and they felt a faint desire to worship it. Xiao Chun was mildly startled. Murong Chong had actually skipped the comprehension of states and touched upon something above states. Furthermore, it was an extremely high-grade will of kingship. Since you are suppressing me with the might of a king, I will use the might of a deity to suppress you, Xiao Chun thought to himself with a calm expression. The thunderclouds in the sky started to gather continuously. Finally, they formed a huge whirlpool of thunderclouds. The whirlpool was 300 meters tall. Every time the whirlpool spun, there would be a boundless amount of lightning-attributed spiritual energy infused into it. Bolts of lightning tore through the sky and hovered above the arena. A supreme divine might spread out from it. Dong, 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 dong. The roars of a huge army came from the whirlpool. When these sounds merged together, they formed a resplendent electric light. A knight flickering with golden electricity appeared from the whirlpool, holding a golden spear in his hand. This was the modified rushing thunder roar. It merged all the lightning knights together and infused a trace of the might of a deity into it, forming a true single-target martial technique. The golden spear pointed at Murong Chong, who was on the ground. The thunder gods might spread out, heading for Murong Chong, whose state of kingship had reached its peak. The two formless auras clashed in the air. They intertwined, creating ripples in the air. Rushing thunder roar, all-powerful. The two of them shouted at the same time. The golden lightning knight lowered its spear and rode on a golden warhorse that chased after the clouds and lightning. It carried a trace of divine might as it pierced through space, heading for Murong Chong. The strong wind behind Murong Chong stopped, and the clouds above him stopped churning. The world was silent. Only the all-powerful saber strike that could break through the 9 heavens flew out. The resplendent saber light soared into the sky, colliding fiercely with the golden lightning night. It was a saber chi that contained the will of a king. It was an indomitable aura that looked down on the world, causing even the world to be moved. However, Xiao Qian's golden lightning night contained the might of a deity. This strand of the might of a deity was something that Xiao Qian imitated from the divine might left by the sages in the silver warship. Although it was not the true divine might, it could easily defeat the trace of the will of a king that Murongchong had just comprehended. How could a king among men defeat a divine sovereign? Unless Murongchong comprehended the will of a divine sovereign, there was no chance of victory. The golden lightning knight brandished its spear, and dazzling golden lightning gathered behind it. It gathered into a spear light that shot out in all directions and clashed violently with Murongchong's saber chi containing the will of a king. Bang! 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 The air suddenly exploded as the two wills clashed fiercely in the air. Intense explosions rang out, and in the calm air, it was like waves had exploded, causing the entire space to become blurry. Xiao! The golden knight's spear pierced through Murongchong's saber chi with a schwa sound. Then, he rode on his golden warhorse and descended from the sky, leaving behind a golden beam of light. Murongchong's grave and stern face appeared slightly distracted. Just as the tip of the spear was about to press against his chest, he spun his saber and blocked the tip of the golden spear with its thin blade. Boom! Under Xiao Qian's control, the knight exploded. The horrifying force gathered at the tip of the spear, causing Murongchong to vomit a mouthful of blood and fly back. Xiao Qian felt dizzy. Aside from exhausting a large amount of essence, this move also exhausted the source of his spiritual sense. Simulating a divine might had nearly exhausted his spiritual sense. Xiao Qian pressed the tip of his tongue against his teeth and bit down hard. There was an intense pain, and the dizziness in his head improved slightly. Xiao Qian pushed off the ground and leaped into the air. Then, he stabbed his saber at Murongchong's chest. Murongchong fell from the air. Aside from being injured by the lightning, his mind was also suppressed by the divine might. He had lost all ability to resist. Xiao Qian flicked his wrist and deflected the saber that was originally aimed at Murongchong's heart by 5 centimeters. Murongchong fell from the air. The pain in his chest allowed him to recover his mind. At this moment, his hair was messy and the blood at the corner of his lips had not been wiped clean. There were wounds all over his body. The two of them had exhausted their states. The wind no longer howled, the clouds no longer churned, the lightning disappeared, and the dust settled. At this moment, it was very quiet. Only the sound of their blood dripping to the ground could be heard. Murongchong was actually defeated by Xiao Qian. How can this be? The piercing sunlight shone down from the 9 heavens. When the spectators saw the scene in the arena, they were all incomparably astonished. Xiao Qian, whom no one thought highly of, actually defeated the top ranker of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's wind cloud list, Murongchong. Seeing the expressionless Xiao Qian, who was not much better off, Murongchong revealed a bitter smile on his stern face. He muttered, "Why did you not kill me? I do not have any grudges with you. You also saved my life once. We are even," Xiao Qian said calmly. Suddenly, anger appeared on Murongchong's stern face. He said, "Your heart is not with Qingyun Peak. Why did you snatch my things?" Xiao Qian's expression was calm. There were no fluctuations. He said indifferently, "Are you sure that is yours? The things in this world are not yours, just because you think they are. Only when you obtain them can you be considered to have them." Kassier. After he spoke, Xiao Qian withdrew his saber and sheathed it. Blood immediately spurted out of Murongchong's chest. His body swayed as he fell over. Finally, he knelt on one knee and stabbed his saber in the ground, doing his best to maintain his balance. Murongchong has failed the challenge. The position of Qingyun Peak's Peak Master will not change. After Murongchong fell over, the old man from earlier reappeared and announced the result. The moment the old man spoke, a group of Jade Maiden Peak disciples immediately came out and carried Xiao Chun and Murong Chong away, helping them to treat their injuries. The dense crowd of spectators discussed this matter. There were several people who could not accept the result. They did not dare believe that Murong Chong would be defeated. Chapter 298. In the distance, Mu Chun and Zhang Lai looked at the defeated Murong Chong. Their eyes were filled with desolation. Zhang Lai smiled bitterly. I originally thought that after a month of hard work, I would be able to catch up to him. Who knew? I would be getting further and further away from him. Now, even Murong Chong is not a match for him. Mu Chun got up and smiled faintly. Don't overthink this. His potential is different from ours. His future accomplishments will be different as well. However, with such a person as our target, we will be able to raise our strength much faster. That's right, the higher his talent, the more pressure we will face. As long as I don't slack off and lose confidence, my strength will improve much faster than before. The desolation in Zhang Lai's eyes disappeared in an instant. Replacing it was an incomparably resolute expression filled with confidence. If you set a person with 100 points of potential and a person with 50 points as your target, the final result would be very different. Hence, the two of them were very glad that their opponent, Xiao Chun, was the person with 100 points of potential. Lu Ryua looked at the two people being carried away by the Jade Maiden Peak disciples for treatment. She revealed a faint smile on her charming face. This might be the best ending. 3 days later, in an independent courtyard on Jade Maiden Peak, Xiao Chun lay quietly on a reclining chair in the courtyard. There was an incense burner on the stone table beside him. Smoke curled up into the air, and a faint medicinal fragrance wafted through the courtyard. It was refreshing and comfortable. One's body could not help but relax. The injuries Xiao Chun suffered in his fight with Murong Chong were more severe than Xiao Chun had imagined. Those saber wounds contained the state of wind and the state of cloud. This made it very difficult for them to heal. Furthermore, some of his meridians were injured. The most serious was the internal injuries from the clash of the mysterious phenomena. At that time, Xiao Chun and Lu Ryue suppressed their internal injuries. After the fight ended, they erupted 100-fold. With the internal and external injuries, it would have been impossible for Xiao Chun to recover completely without a month. However, in Jade Maiden Peak, he received the best care. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion elders generously provided him with all sorts of spirit pills and miraculous medicines. There was even a Jade Maiden Peak elder who possessed a self-healing martial spirit. She personally circulated her energy and helped Xiao Chun clear his meridians and nourish his internal organs. In just 3 days, his injuries would be mostly healed, and in another 4 days, his body would be able to completely recover to its peak state. All of this was because of the strength that Xiao Chun displayed. He had attracted the attention of the upper echelons of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Although Xiao Chun was strong in the past, he was only a medial grade martial saint. There were many people in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion who reached medial grade martial saint at his age. There would be even more in the Great Qin Empire. However, the combat prowess that Xiao Chun displayed and the horrifying state of thunder made everyone look at him in a new light. He was not a simple medial grade martial saint. Any sect would take good care of their own geniuses, and all kinds of advantageous resources would be tilted towards their geniuses. Naturally, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion was no exception. It was not strange that they took such care of Xiao Chun. As Xiao Chun slept on the recliner, he looked at the clear sky above him and breathed in the fragrant air. His body and mind felt more comfortable. This was actually a special treatment method of Jade Maiden Peak. The recliner was not made of ordinary wood. Instead, it was made of 1,000-year-old spiritual wood. In other words, if one took this recliner and tore it into pieces, they could sell it for 1,000 medial grade spirit stones. As long as a person laid on it, the 1,000-year-old spiritual energy contained in it would automatically seep through the skin and into the flesh, bones, and marrow, circulating and nourishing the various organs of the cultivator. Furthermore, the incense and powder in the incense burner were made from spirit herbs picked from Jade Maiden Peak. According to Xiao Chen's request, It was used to replenish the source of his spiritual sense. Such a relaxed treatment method caused Xiao Chun to feel an unprecedented peace. Since he arrived at Qinyan Peak, he had not been able to relax for even a moment. Now, he was completely at peace. For the past 3 days, Xiao Chun did not think or do anything. He just lay there quietly. He discovered that his mental state had improved by another step. "Ha! Little brother Yi Chun, are you resting?" Just as Xiao Chun was deep in thought with his eyes closed, a drawn-out laughter came from outside the courtyard. Xiao Chun quickly opened his eyes and stood up to greet Elder Tang. Elder Tang was a member of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Elders Assembly. His cultivation had already reached peak Martial King. Furthermore, his potential had not been exhausted yet. Once he reached the right opportunity, he could advance to Martial Monarch at any time. He could be said to be a true peak expert. Even 100 Xiao Chun would not be a match for him. There were only 9 elders in the entire Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Without the Pavilion Master, the authority of these elders was astonishing. All the important decisions of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion had to go through the approval of the Elders' Assembly before they could be made. On the first day Xiao Chun was injured, Elder Tang came to look for Xiao Chun. However, his purpose in looking for Xiao Chun made things difficult for him. The other party was interested in Xiao Chun's talent and promised him all sorts of benefits. He wanted to take Xiao Chun in as a disciple. Xiao Chun had already tactfully rejected him once. This time, his purpose should be the same. When Elder Tang saw Xiao Chun stand up, he waved his hand and used a gentle force to get Xiao Chun to lie back down. He chuckled and said, "Little brother Yi Chun, you are injured. There is no need to be so polite. How is it? Have you considered the matter that I mentioned to you back then?" When Xiao Chun heard this, he smiled bitterly in his heart. It looked like his tactful rejection back then was taken as consideration by the other party. Otherwise, the other party might be feigning ignorance. Without waiting for Xiao Chun to reply, Elder Tang continued, "Actually, you should really consider this seriously. For so many years, I have not taken in a personal disciple. Once you become my disciple, and I become a supreme elder in the future, I will not accept you. My position as an elder will be yours. The cultivation resources that an elder can enjoy are much more than you can imagine. There are medial-grade spirit stones, medicinal pills, and all sorts of secret techniques. There are also some martial techniques that the Heavenly Saber Pavilion does not teach to outsiders. You can learn them all." Xiao Chun replied. Elder Tang interrupted him and continued, "I already know about the assassination attempt on your way back to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Furthermore, I warned Song Quebec. He will not dare to make a move against you again. The most important thing is that if you become an elder in the future, you can challenge Song Ke to a duel. Even if you accidentally kill him in the duel, there will not be any problems. This is the privilege of an elder. What do you think? This should be able to move you, right? I know what you're worried about. As long as you say the word, I can help you settle things with Lu Ruyue." Elder Tang spoke tirelessly, promising a lot of benefits. If Xiao Chun said he was not tempted, it would be a lie. However, these conditions were unable to move him. Xiao Chun said calmly, "I'm sorry, Elder Tang. I'm unable to agree." Ninth Elder is here to poach my disciple again? Just as Elder Tang was about to continue speaking, melodious laughter resounded in the courtyard. It was Lu Ruyue walking over leisurely. When Elder Tang saw Lu Ruyue, he could not help but feel embarrassed. No matter what, he was a senior. He had gone to poach a disciple of the younger generation and was even caught red-handed. He would feel embarrassed. Little Ruyue must be joking. Why would I poach her disciple? I'm only here to visit little friend Yi Chun. I will take my leave first. If little brother Yi has any difficulties in the future, you can come and look for me." Seeing that Lu Ruyue had arrived, Elder Tang laughed it off and immediately left. Xiao Chun immediately felt very relaxed. He looked at Lu Ruyue and smiled. "Fortunately, you came. Otherwise, it would be difficult for me to advance or retreat." Lu Ruyue sighed in her heart. When she thought of her first meeting with Xiao Chun, she still found it funny. However, she had not misjudged him. He was someone who could restore Qingyan Peak's might. Lu Riyue did not have any other purpose for coming here. She only wanted to visit Xiao Chun and see how his injuries were. At the same time, she wanted to chat with him to relieve his boredom. The two of them chatted for a long time in the courtyard. Most of their topics were about their understanding of the martial way. Now that their strengths were about the same, the master-disciple relationship was already very thin. It was more of a master-disciple relationship. The sky gradually turned dark. When dusk arrived, they stopped talking, and Lu Riyue took her leave. The next few days were rather peaceful. The people that Xiao Qin knew, Mu Chun, Zhang Lai, Lu Suifeng, and Chu Xinyun, all came to visit him. This made him feel a trace of warmth in his heart. On a night after 3 days, Xiao Qin's injuries had completely recovered. He had returned to his peak state. Furthermore, after the big battle with Murong Chong and a week of rest, Xiao Chun felt that although his cultivation did not improve by much, his combat prowess had increased significantly. This was the benefit of a true big battle. A genius would not have a good opponent. Without intense battles, they would never improve by leaps and bounds. Only in a big battle could one find their own weaknesses and inadequacies. Then, they could cultivate and make up for these weaknesses. Finally, they could use a big battle to test if their thoughts were correct or not. Such a virtuous cycle would allow one's strength to increase rapidly and steadily, truly reaching the peak. Thus, cultivators had to continuously set goals for themselves. Sha! Sha! Suddenly, the sound of footsteps entered Xiao Qin's ears in the dark night. Xiao Qin's expression changed slightly. His figure flashed, and he immediately arrived in the courtyard. When Xiao Chun saw who it was, he revealed an astonished expression. Murong Chong. Murong Chong was dressed in black with a saber hanging at his waist. He slowly walked over to Xiao Chun in the dark night. Xiao Qin's expression returned to normal. He asked suspiciously, "What are you doing here? Do you want to fight with me again?" Murong Chong's grave and stern face did not reveal any expression. He said indifferently, "There is no need for now. You are right. There are some things that you cannot have unless you possess them. In the past, I was too stubborn. Now that I have thought things through, I have decided to leave this place." Xiao Chun was not surprised by Murong Chong's words. With his cultivation realm and cultivation, he had already reached a bottleneck in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. With his potential, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion would not be able to keep him. Leaving was just a matter of time. Xiao Chun let down his guard, and his expression eased up. He asked, "Where are you preparing to go?" Chapter 299. Honestly speaking, Xiao Chun did not have any enmity towards Murong Chong. Although this person was not on good terms with him, he was decisive and straightforward. Xiao Chun admired such a character. "I don't know. Let's leave the Great Qi Nation first. In the Tianwu continent, aside from the Great Qi Nation, the Great Qi Nation is the weakest among the other 4 nations. If we limit our vision to the Great Qi Nation, we will not be able to improve in the future. We have to go out." Leave the Great Qi Nation? Xiao Chun thought so as well. After Emperor Wu's nation was destroyed, the spirit veins in the continent were in chaos. Aside from the Great Qi Nation, the density of spiritual energy in the other 4 nations could not be compared to Emperor Wu's nation. It was even more incomparable to the ancient era. The sparseness of spiritual energy would cause a cultivator's cultivation speed to decrease. Even with the same talent, cultivating in a different environment would result in a world of difference in strength. Furthermore, among the 4 nations, the Great Qi Nation had the sparsest spiritual energy. This was also the reason why the Great Qi Nation only had 3 great sections. It was because there were too few good spirit veins. Sooner or later, Xiao Chun would have to leave as well. This world was so exciting and vast. If he did not go out and explore it, he would have many regrets in his life. It was said that outside the Tianwu continent, on the other side of the boundless sea, there were countless islands. Each island was the size of a nation. Furthermore, the spirit veins that were deep in the sea. They had not been broken since the ancient era. One could imagine how horrifying the geniuses there were. However, Xiao Chun still had many things to do in the Great Qi Nation. He could not leave for now. At the very least, He had to comprehend listening to the sword and communicating with it before he could leave. Murong Chong said indifferently, "Don't think that just because you defeated me in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, you are the strongest in the younger generation of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Could it be that Murong Chong is not the true #1 expert?" Xiao Chun asked doubtfully, "What do you mean?" Murong Chong said, "Since ancient times, the true experts of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion have always been in the Divine Saber Camp. Only by joining the Divine Saber Camp will the Heavenly Saber Pavilion pass down the true secret techniques to you." Xiao Chun had seen the strength of the Divine Saber Camp with his own eyes. Just one look from the other party was enough to make him tremble. The martial technique of killing was indeed horrifying. However, this was also because Xiao Chun had not comprehended his state at that time. If the current Xiao Chun were to face the experts of the Divine Saber Camp, even if he could not defeat them, he would not lose in terms of aura. Then why did you not join the Divine Saber Camp? With your talent? They should have already sent you an invitation, Xiao Chun said. Murong Chang's expression did not change. He said leisurely, 2 years ago, I received an invitation. However, I rejected it. You will understand the reason for my rejection when you receive the invitation. Aside from the people of the Divine Saber Camp, there is only one person worth paying attention to in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Xiao Chen's interest was piqued, and he asked, "Who?" "Lung Liusu." Murong Chong replied indifferently, "The daughter of the previous pavilion master of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, Lung Liusu. There is a secret realm in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. There is the spirit veins origin of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Only the descendants of the Saber Emperor can cultivate there after they advance to Martial Saint. Half a year ago, Lung Liusu already advanced to Martial Saint. Her talent is no weaker than ours. Furthermore, she has the bloodline of the Saber Emperor. Furthermore, with the help of the spirit veins origin, when she comes out, she will shock the entire Great Qin nation. Spirit veins origin of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's secret realm." When Xiao Chun heard this, his heart skipped a beat. He thought of the strange space he encountered in the underground world. There was also the prayer mat in the tree hole. The secret realm that Murong Chong mentioned might be that place. Back then, he could not sit on it. So, aside from his insufficient cultivation, he also needed the bloodline of the Saber Emperor. At this moment, Xiao Chun finally understood. The spirit veins origin was something that even the fiend race martial emperors wanted. It was easy to imagine how much faster one's cultivation speed would be if they could cultivate there. Goodbye. Although I know you will have to leave sooner or later, before that, please spread the name of Qingyan Peak. Murong Chong performed a cupped fist salute and said, "I hope we will meet again in the future." Right after he spoke, Murong Chong's figure flashed in the dark night. He quickly merged into the darkness and disappeared from Xiao Chen's vision. The corner of Xiao Chen's mouth curled up in an arc. He smiled faintly and said, "What an interesting person." After saying so much, the last sentence is probably the main point. You clearly can't let it go, so why are you pretending to be carefree? In the past 7 days, Xiao Chun had heard that Murong Chong's 3-wind cloud style was created by him. Xiao Chun gained a deeper understanding of Murong Chong's strength. Murong Chong was not even 20 years old, yet he was able to combine his state and create his own martial technique. There were probably not many people with such talent since ancient times. Furthermore, Murong Chong gave Xiao Chun the feeling that this 3-wind cloud style was not truly perfected yet. There should be at least 5 more moves after rebuking the wind and clouds. By the time Murong Chong perfected the remaining moves, it would be very difficult for Xiao Chun to defeat him again. In the future, even if Murong Chong did not truly reach the peak of the martial Tao, his name would be passed down to the future generations with this wind cloud saber technique. No matter what, Murong Chong was one of the true bladesmen that Yin Kursin spoke of in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. When the sky brightened, Xiao Chun greeted the people of Jade Maiden Peak. Then, he immediately left Jade Maiden Peak and rushed to Qingyan Peak. When Xiao Chun returned to the familiar Qingyan Peak, there were still very few people. Along the way, Xiao Chun thought of Murong Chong's words. He sighed, "There are indeed too few people in Qingyun Peak. Before he left, he had to do his best to help Qingyun Peak regain its former illustrious reputation. Before Xiao Chen walked far, he saw a familiar white figure. It was by running towards him quickly. Behind it, Lu Riyue, Lu Suifeng, and the Xiao siblings also slowly came down. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and carried by in his embrace. Then he walked over to Lu Riyue and the others. Xiao Meng laughed and said, "Bai is still the best. We knew you were coming from afar. We did not know you would recover today." Lu Riyue's complexion was getting better by the day. When Xiao Chen saw her again, she had already recovered her former graceful bearing. After suffering such a setback, when her injuries recovered, it would be her opportunity to become a martial king. "Are your injuries completely healed?" Lu Riyue asked softly. Xiao Chen nodded gently. When Lu Suifeng saw the situation, he laughed loudly. "Come, Yi Chen, let's go drink. Xiao Yang and Xiao Meng, let's go as well. Let's formally celebrate your defeat of Murong Chong." When Xiao Chen heard the word drink, Bai immediately became restless in Xiao Chen's embrace. She cried out continuously, indicating that she wanted to go as well. This caused everyone to laugh loudly. When Xiao Chen saw the smiles on everyone's faces, he felt a warmth in his heart. Although there were not many people in Qingyun Peak, it was impossible for the other peaks to have such a harmonious relationship. Even if he left Qingyun Peak in the future, he would remember the time he spent with everyone here. He would never forget it for the rest of his life. "Very well, I will drink to my heart's content today." Xiao Chen collected his thoughts and smiled faintly. On a desolate peak in the Lingyun mountain range, Xiao Chen sat cross-legged on a rock. Boundless thunderclouds churned in the sky above him. After everyone got drunk that day, Xiao Chen started to cultivate bitterly the next day. During his fight with Murong Chong, he realized that his state was insufficient. If the might of his state was insufficient, he would fall from grace and become an ordinary martial saint. The might of all his moves would decrease. Thus, for the past half a month, he had been thinking of ways to strengthen his state, trying to make up for his shortcomings. Because he cultivated the purple thunder divine incantation, Xiao Chen's state of thunder was much purer than a regular cultivator's state. Needless to say, its might was much stronger. Similarly, a small perfection state was nothing in front of Xiao Chen's state of thunder. He could easily suppress it. This was also why he could use his small perfection state to contend against Murong Chong's great perfection state. All of this was because of the purple thunder divine incantation, which was comparable to a heaven-ranked cultivation technique. Similarly, it also made it harder for Xiao Chen to advance his state to great perfection. At first, he had to raise the purple thunder divine incantation to the 5th layer before he could break through. As long as he succeeded in breaking through, his great perfection state of thunder would be comparable to the peak great perfection state of others. This was the benefit of having a large base. Since he could not break through to great perfection state for now, Xiao Chen had to think of other methods. Back when he fought with Murong Chong, the holy might of the blue dragon martial spirit immediately suppressed his opponent's state of wind and cloud. This gave Xiao Chen a lot of inspiration. If he infused the holy might into his state, then even if he did not break through to great perfection, its might would increase significantly. This was a good idea, but it was very difficult to execute. After working hard for half a month, the holy might of the blue dragon martial spirit could not be infused. Holy might could be considered an aura of an ancient holy beast. Just like how humans had auras, an ancient holy beast definitely had its own unique aura. Although Xiao Chen's control over his own aura had not reached the level of some powerhouses, who could turn their aura into a sharp saber with just a sharp look, it was not difficult to infuse it into saber techniques. However, it was not difficult to infuse into saber techniques as he pleased. However, it was somewhat difficult to control the aura of the blue dragon martial spirit. In the past, before the martial spirit shattered, it was easier to do. He could just move it from the dantian. Now that the martial spirit was shattered, it resided in more than 300 acupoints in his body. He had only opened 13 of the 18 acupoints on his right arm. If he could truly use the aura of these 13 strands of dragon chi together, it would be simple to attack someone. He could just blast it out, and there would be no need to worry about it. The problem was how to refine the dragon chi into the aura of the blue dragon, and then infuse it into the state. Raising his head to look at the thunderclouds above, Xiao Chun slowly stretched out his right hand. With a thought, the Fengyan acupoint on his palm immediately exploded open. A strand of azure-colored dragon chi floated out. The Laogong acupoint opened. The Daling acupoint opened. The Naguan acupoint opened. Strands of azure-colored dragon chi flowed out. All 13 acupoints on Xiao Chen's right arm opened. Finally, all the dragon chi merged and formed a 10-meter-long blue dragon coiled around Xiao Chen's right arm. The dragon's body was covered in dragon scales. It looked very realistic. Aside from its lifeless eyes, this blue dragon could be said to be very realistic. Chapter 300. Hu Qi. Xiao Chen shouted and roared ferociously. Then, he soared towards the thunderclouds in the sky. The holy might contained in the dragon roar spread out continuously for 1,000 meters. Everywhere it passed, the grass bent and a strong wind howled. Even the air seemed to stop. Under the control of Xiao Chen's spiritual sense, the blue dragon's figure was faintly discernible in the thunderclouds. Bolts of lightning flashed in the clouds. As the dragon and the clouds intersected, Xiao Chen could clearly feel the might of the state of thunder growing stronger. Rumble. Following a few piercing sounds of thunder, the aura of the state of thunder soared higher and higher. Finally, it reached the might of Murong Chang's state of wind and cloud. However, the dragon chi would eventually scatter. As the dragon chi was exhausted, the blue dragon's figure quickly became fainter. The aura of the state of thunder also became weaker. The blue dragon completely vanished. The state of thunder immediately returned to its original form, returning to its previous might. Xiao Chen revealed a helpless smile. He waved his hand and dispersed the state of thunder. The thunderclouds above him vanished, and only the howling of the strong wind remained at the top of the mountain. There's a saying, the wind follows the tiger, and the clouds follow the dragon. When the dragon and the clouds are together, they can indeed increase my state of thunder. However, this temporary effect is not what I want. Xiao Chen looked into the distance and revealed a pondering expression. He said indifferently, what I want is not a temporary effect, but a method to thoroughly strengthen the state of thunder. However, the direction was right. Holy might could indeed increase the might of the state of thunder. However, Xiao Chen could not find a way to extract holy might for now. There is no rush. I still have time. I can take it slow, Xiao Chen thought to himself. He sat back down on a rock and slowly closed his eyes, entering a state of deep thought. Xiao Chen sat there for 7 days. During these 7 days, Xiao Chen did not do anything. He did not even open his eyes. He entered a wondrous state of comprehension, trying to solve the problem of extracting holy might. To a martial saint, not eating or drinking for a month was not a problem. The spiritual energy they absorbed could already be converted into some of the energy their bodies needed. On this particular day, dark clouds gathered in the sky. Thunder roared. After a while, there was a torrential downpour. Rain poured down, drenching Xiao Chen inside and out. When Xiao Chen felt the roar of thunder, he suddenly opened his eyes. The purest energy of nature appeared in front of him. Bolts of lightning flashed in the ape's body. After that, there was a startling explosion of thunder. This scene happened right before Xiao Chen's eyes. The lightning that pierced through the sky seemed to be forever imprinted in his mind. He immediately felt enlightened. Xiao Chen's body trembled slightly, and the rainwater on his body immediately bounced off. The pouring rain was blocked by a formless barrier, unable to land on his body. After thinking about this problem for half a month, Xiao Chen finally had a clue. He reared his head back and laughed loudly. The thrill of sudden enlightenment was so exhilarating that it was hard to contain one's excitement. Actually, I have been misled by myself. The blue dragon martial spirit has already merged with my body. However, I have separated it. It is just like the lightning flashing in the sky and the torrential downpour. They are a part of the heavenly Tao. There is no distinction between them. They are all a part of the will of the heavenly Tao. My aura should contain the aura of the blue dragon martial spirit. However, I have only opened 13 acupoints, which is still a small number. Hence, it cannot be manifested, and there is no way to refine it. If I were to rely on my own strength to refine the pure aura of the blue dragon, I would have to open all 361 acupoints in my body. At that time, I would need to be a martial monarch at the very least. I do not know how long that would take. However, why would I refine it? All I have to do is infuse my aura into the state. Then, the blue dragon martial spirit would naturally be infused into it. Xiao Chen had always been like this. With a thought, the dark clouds above his head became denser. Thunder rumbled, forming a stark contrast with the surrounding dark clouds. Xiao Chen unleashed his aura, causing it to soar continuously. Then, he gathered it in his surroundings and did not release it, spiraling around him continuously. As his aura continued to rise, a formless shockwave surged out from the ground under Xiao Chen's feet. It blew away the pouring rain. Boom! When Xiao Chen's aura reached its peak, he shouted, not releasing it. His aura, which had been circulating around him, soared into the sky. A vague azure dragon could be seen soaring into the sky together with this aura. That blue dragon was very blurry. Even when Xiao Chen circulated his spiritual sense, he could only make out a hazy silhouette. Xiao Chen's aura soared into the sky as he tried to infuse it into the state with Xiao Chen's thoughts. This was the first time Xiao Chen had done this. In the past, he had only had experience with infusing his aura with saber techniques. He had not had any experience with infusing it with a state. Hence, he was somewhat unfamiliar with it. However, although saber techniques and states were very different, the general direction was the same. After Xiao Chen tried for more than an hour, he finally found a way to do it. The formless aura turned into drops of rain and slowly infused into the state. As the aura continuously infused into the state, the thunderclouds above him roared louder. Lightning descended continuously. In an instant, it even surpassed the lightning of nature, making it seem dim. Boom! 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 Just at this moment, the surrounding lightning suddenly turned ferocious. Every bolt was very frightening, as if they wanted to tear the sky apart. The thunder that followed was even more horrifying. The sound was ear-splitting. Even a mountain below Xiao Chen could not help but tremble. A strong wind and heavy rain poured down. The sky turned so dark that it seemed like it would press down on him. Xiao Chen's originally excited face suddenly turned startled. He said, "This is the heavenly Tao demonstrating its might to me. Earlier, when I infused my aura into the state, I suppressed the might of the heavenly Tao. Unexpectedly, it rebounded so strongly. There was an ancient legend that every time a martial emperor broke through, it was no longer a fight with themselves. The energy in their bodies had already been pushed to the limits. There was no more potential to be unearthed. Instead, they were fighting with the heavens, fighting for the heavenly Tao, stealing it for their own use to strengthen themselves." Although Xiao Chen's current situation was far from that of an ancient martial emperor, not even 1/10,000th of it, he had unintentionally done something that only an ancient martial emperor could do. He had accidentally angered the heavenly Tao. With his current cultivation, he had to stop quickly in such a situation. Otherwise, the rage of the heavenly Tao could turn him into ashes, leaving not even a corpse behind. However, at this moment, Xiao Chen's merging of his aura and state had reached a crucial moment. There was still one last step left. If he gave up now, all his previous efforts would be wasted. I can't give up. Otherwise, there will not be such a good opportunity next time. The state that fights with the heavenly Tao is definitely stronger than an ordinary state. Xiao Chen revealed a determined expression as he said calmly, "Boom! Boom! Boom!" The deafening explosions rang out endlessly, and the lightning that tore through the sky did not stop for even a moment. Suddenly, A few bolts of lightning streaked across the sky beside Xiao Chun. In that instant, the light completely evaporated the rainwater, leaving behind only a faint mist. The remnant electricity surged around Xiao Chen's body. The crackling sounds continued. Xiao Chun felt incredibly astonished. The might of this lightning was extraordinary. If it struck him, he would definitely not be able to endure it. Recollecting his thoughts, Xiao Chun focused on merging his aura into his state. The thunderclouds above his head churned continuously. As his aura poured in, the might of his state started to rise steadily. The instant Xiao Chen's aura completely poured in, a huge whirlpool formed above the thunderclouds. A bolt of lightning as thick as a water bucket streaked out. In that instant, the dark sky turned as bright as day. Once again, the lightning from the heavenly Tao paled in comparison. Success! Xiao Chun said excitedly, his face filled with joy. Just at this moment, the lightning and rumbling in the sky suddenly stopped. Xiao Chun's expression changed as he jumped off the peak. Boom! After a while, a strong bolt of lightning that had never appeared before shot over from the distant sky. The peak that Xiao Chun stood on was instantly struck. The 2,000-meter-tall mountain peak exploded. A horrifying purple shock wave surged over and struck Xiao Chun with a so sound. Pussy. Xiao Chun vomited a mouthful of blood. When he turned his head back, he saw that the mountain peak, which had been perfectly fine earlier, now looked like someone had used a fist to smash it in half. How horrifying! Just a remnant might is unbearable. I wonder how those ancient emperors fought against the heavenly Tao, Xiao Chun said with lingering fear as he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. However, although I suffered some internal injuries, the state of thunder is finally complete. In the future, when I open more acupoints, the holy might in my aura will become even stronger. At that time, I can continue to merge them. The might of my state still has a lot of room to improve. Xiao Chun had an excited smile on his face as he executed the gravity spell. His body slowly descended to the ground. The rain came and went very quickly. After that horrifying bolt of lightning descended, the rain slowly subsided. After that, the sky cleared up and a rainbow bridge appeared in the distance. It was beautiful beyond compare. Unexpectedly, a rainbow appeared. A rainbow was one of the most beautiful natural phenomena in the world. In his original world, Xiao Chun had only heard of it but never seen it. This was the first time he saw it. He could not help but take a few more glances. It is indeed beautiful. However, this is not the time to be greedy. Withdrawing his gaze, Xiao Chun looked around and found a smooth rock to sit on. Then, he started to clean up the remnant lightning in his body. The Lingyan mountain range was vast and boundless. Aside from the 7 main peaks, there were countless isolated peaks and desolate mountain paths. This was where Xiao Chun was, so he did not have to worry about being discovered. After a while, Xiao Chun completely cleared out the shock wave caused by the heavenly lightning. He slowly opened his eyes and said, "Let's test the might of the state of thunder first." With a thought, rolling thunderclouds immediately gathered from all directions, forming a layer of clouds that roared with thunder. As the clouds churned, lightning flashed and thunder roared. Chapter 301. I have only used half of the state of small success, and it is already almost the same as when I used my full power in the past. It looks like the holy might has truly fused into it. Xiao Chun looked at the thunderclouds above him and said indifferently, "Let's try it again." After merging the state and the move, the might produced will see if there is any improvement. Wu Kuei breaks the heavens. Without hesitation, Xiao Chun raised his state to peak small perfection. Then he executed the killing move of the Wu Kuei saber technique. Wu Kuei breaks the heavens. The ancient divine Wu Kuei tree above Xiao Chun's head grew rapidly. When the tree's branches and leaves flourished, flowers blossomed and bore fruit, a bolt of lightning immediately descended from the sky. For some reason, it raised Xiao Chun's aura even higher. Hu-chi! The blade lit up with a resplendent pillar of light. Then it quickly elongated. In the blink of an eye, the terrifying saber light had extended to a distance of 2,000 meters. At the end of the saber light, a mountain peak had been sliced in half. In the next moment, the triangular mountain peak crashed down with a loud bang. Xiao Chun sheathed his saber. Then, he pushed off the ground and leaped into the air. In an instant, he arrived at the peak that had just been flattened. Looking at the smooth, mirror-like gap, a faint smile appeared on Xiao Chen's face. Although the might has only increased by 20%, the density of the saber light has increased by 50%. If I were to run into Murong Chong's parting clouds revealing the sky again, I would be able to break his saber light easily. The concept fusion was officially successful. Xiao Chun was overjoyed in his heart, but he wasn't too proud. In the following days, other than stabilizing and familiarizing himself with the concept of holy might. Furthermore, Xiao Chun had to continue practicing the Wukuei saber technique. In order to truly master a martial technique, he had to first familiarize himself with the circulation method of the martial technique's meridians. Next, he had to merge his state with the saber technique. Finally, he had to comprehend the state of the saber technique. Only by combining the three would one be able to truly cultivate a martial technique to the peak of consummation, mastering it thoroughly and bringing out its full power. Xiao Chun had already completed the first two steps. Now, he only lacked the final step. Once he merged the three into one, the Wukuei saber technique would reach consummation. The days went by. Xiao Chun tirelessly started his own bitter cultivation. He practiced his saber techniques during the day and the purple thunder divine incantation at night, making preparations to break through to the fifth layer. Xiao Chun used the remaining time to cultivate the dragon and tiger body sculpting art. The dragon and tiger body sculpting art had already reached the peak of the fourth layer. He was just one layer away from being reborn, reaching the realm of dragon, tendon, tiger bone. In addition to the hardships of cultivation, there was also the lingering loneliness. Apart from cultivation, there was still cultivation. In the blink of an eye, Xiao Chun had been cultivating in this desolate mountain for 2 months. Huh! With a loud shout, the bones in Xiao Chun's body crackled from top to bottom like beans being fried. A drawn-out aura soared into the sky, piercing through the heavens and scattering the clouds. Xiao Chun stopped and said indifferently, "The dragon and tiger body sculpting art has already entered the threshold of the fourth layer. I estimate that it will not be long before I reach small perfection. At that time, I should be able to open all the remaining acupoints on my right arm." The time of 2 months was somewhat different from what Xiao Chun had imagined. His saber technique did not improve. He only managed to solidify his foundation. On the other hand, the dragon and tiger body sculpting art improved very quickly. Xiao Chun thought for a while and felt that the comprehension of the Wukuei saber technique state was not something that could be achieved through bitter cultivation. It would require a large number of battles. In that case, I should go out and walk around. Coincidentally, the Hall of Contributions is issuing high-level missions today. Let's see if there are any missions worth doing. Looking in the direction of the heaven viewing platform, Xiao Chun pushed his feet off the ground. His body moved like an arrow, tearing through the air. In the blink of an eye, he moved 500 meters, leaving behind a shockwave. After 2 hours, Xiao Chun arrived at the foot of the towering heaven viewing platform. Like before, there were many cultivators with flying spirit beasts at the foot of the mountain. They were recruiting disciples who wanted to climb the mountain. Xiao Chun smiled gently. This time, he did not need to hide his cultivation. He could just use the gravity spell to fly up. In the fight with Murong Chong, he had already revealed many of his trump cards. There was no need to continue hiding them. The gravity spell was an entry-level immortal spell in the compendium of cultivation. However, its potential was shocking. Now that Xiao Chun was a martial saint, it was still very easy for him to use it. It was fast and exhaustive little essence. Such advantages guaranteed that it would always be worth it. As for the disadvantage of slow activation, as Xiao Chun became more familiar with it, it was no longer a problem. 5 minutes later, Xiao Chun arrived at the bustling heaven viewing platform. He walked towards the Hall of Contributions with familiarity. "Yi Chun, It really is Yi Chun. What is he doing at the heaven viewing platform? Today is the day the high-ranked missions are issued. He should be going to the Hall of Contributions. I believe this time, no one will dare to object to him taking a high-ranked mission. Of course, after defeating Murong Chong, he is the strongest person of the previous generation in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. I heard that a few of the elders think highly of him. As Xiao Chen walked, many people recognized him. Their gazes were no longer filled with suspicion and suspicion. Instead, they were filled with envy and respect. Xiao Chun ignored these words. He had always been indifferent. When he was weak, he would not be affected by the mockery of others. Now that he was strong, he would not become complacent and complacent. He maintained his original state of mind. How it was in the past, how it is now. Who cares about the gossip? I will remain calm. Xiao Chun paused for a while in front of the Hall of Contributions. Then he walked in with large strides. Xiao. When he entered the Hall of Contributions, the gazes of everyone in the hall were focused on him. As usual, the corridors were very quiet. Everyone was waiting for the core disciples to finish distributing the high-ranked missions before going to take another one. However, as Xiao Chen walked in, no one dared to say anything. This was a stark contrast to the first time he came, when he was threatened with a saber. This was the deterrence brought about by strength. When Xiao Chen went up to the second floor, the voices in the hall started again. Someone smiled and said, "This time, that group of core disciples probably did not expect Yi Chen to come. They're still discussing how to distribute the high-ranked missions. I wonder what expression they will have when they finish discussing and discover that Yi Chen has already taken the good missions. This group of people has been hogging our high-ranked missions. This time, it feels good to see them suffer. Yi Chen has helped us vent our anger. I wonder if they will dare to look for Yi Chen later." Previously, Yi Chen was stopped by someone. The people in the hall were all non-core disciples of the sect. They had never been able to receive high-ranked missions. In the past, when Xiao Chen was not strong enough, they were all silent, waiting to see Xiao Chen make a fool of himself. When Xiao Chen became strong, their attitudes immediately changed. Instead, they started cheering for Xiao Chen. It could only be said that human psychology was very strange. On the second floor, Xiao Chen went to the window for accepting missions. He handed over his waist tag to show his identity. The golden waist tag had the words Yi Chen carved on it. Coincidentally, the cultivator who handed the mission was the same person who had come the first time. When this person thought about what he did the first time, he felt very embarrassed. He took out a mission list and smiled. "Young Hero Yi, I was not the one who made the decision in the past. I hope you can forgive me." Xiao Chen smiled faintly to himself. He knew what he was talking about. Back then, he had given Xiao Chen the most dangerous high-ranked missions that others did not want. He had hidden the better high-ranked missions. However, Xiao Chen could not be bothered with this small matter of the past. Furthermore, Xiao Chen had obtained a lot of benefits in the end. Xiao Chen received the mission list and said, "Just don't do it again." That person heaved a sigh of relief. Perhaps some disciples did not know. They could only guess that Yi Chen was favored by the upper echelons. However, he was able to come into contact with some people. He was certain that the ninth elder of the elders' assembly favored Yi Chen, even intending to accept him as a disciple. Who was the ninth elder? He was a member of the elders' assembly. He held a high position and was very strong. With just a word, he could kick him out of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Hence, he had no choice but to be respectful to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen picked up the mission list and looked at it carefully. He discovered that there were none of the extremely dangerous missions that he had seen previously. It seemed like these were normal high-ranked missions. After looking at it carefully for a long time, Xiao Chen discovered that the high-ranked missions were also divided into 4 ranks: black, yellow, cyan, and white. Black was the highest, followed by yellow, and so on. The rewards of the black-ranked missions were usually around 1,000 contribution points. This was a very large sum. Even Xiao Chen was somewhat tempted. 1,000 contribution points could be exchanged for 50 medial grade spirit stones, not even for other items. No wonder those core disciples held onto the high-ranked missions so tightly, not willing to share them with others. There was too much profit in this. If one completed a high-ranked mission every month, they would be able to obtain enough medial grade spirit stones for cultivation. Furthermore, they would have extra to buy other items. However, the difficulty of the black-ranked missions was very high. Xiaochen looked through them briefly. The simplest requirement was to kill a medial grade rank 6 spirit beast. Without a team of 3, a regular martial saint would not be able to accept this mission. However, it was not a difficult task for Xiaochen. First, he accepted all the black-ranked missions that did not have a time limit. Then, Xiaochen chose 5 black-ranked missions that had a time limit of 3 months. This way, Xiaochen accepted a total of 20 black-ranked missions, about 2/3 of the total. If Xiaochen completed all the missions, the reward he would obtain would be an astonishing figure, a total of 30,000 contribution points. After Xiaochen selected the missions, he handed the list to the person who handed it to him. When that person saw the missions Xiaochen had chosen, his expression could not help but change. Unexpectedly, Xiaochen accepted 20 high-ranked missions in one go. If this continued, how is he going to account to the remaining core disciples? What's wrong? Is there a limit to the number of missions I can take? Xiaochen asked. The person who handed it to him recovered his wits and smiled. There is no such limit. However, if you fail a black-ranked mission, you will receive a very severe punishment. Not only will there be no mission reward, but your contribution points will also be deducted. The black-ranked missions that have a time limit will be even more deducted after you fail. Let me remind you out of goodwill. Young Hero Yi, you have chosen so many. Can you really complete them all? Xiaochen said indifferently. Many thanks for the reminder. I guarantee that I will be able to complete them all. Xiaochen did not casually choose the black-ranked missions. Instead, he had carefully calculated and compared it to his own strength. He would only choose them when he was at least 80% confident. Chapter 302. The person handing over the missions could only say helplessly, then there is no problem. I will give you the mission contracts later. There are 2 copies. After you sign them, you can leave. After doing all this, Xiaochen glanced through the 20 mission contracts and placed them in his universe ring. Then, he returned to the hall. In the hall, a group of core disciples walked toward Xiaochen. Their faces were filled with rage, but none of them dared to take a step forward. In the past, when Xiaochen was only an inferior grade martial saint, he dared to fight against the people from Gongyu Peak. Now that his strength had improved so much, he would not be afraid of them. Xiaochen looked at the 20 to 30 people blocking his way. He said indifferently, "Can you move aside? I want to go out." The person leading them was a core disciple of Qianwan Peak. His name was Zhang Sheng. He was a superior grade martial saint, but he had not reached the peak. It seemed like he was the leader of this group. Yi Chun, with your strength, we have nothing to say if you want to take a high-ranked mission. We just want to ask if you can take out your mission contract for us to take a look so that we can redistribute them, Zhang Sheng said. Xiaochen frowned slightly. He felt it was funny. Why did he have to show his mission contracts to others? Sorry, I can't. There is no need for me to tell you the missions I took. I am in a rush. Will you move aside or not? You. Zhang Sheng was flustered. He had already lowered his stance, yet the other party did not give him any face. Seeing that the other party was not willing to move aside, Xiaochen felt some anger in his heart. He stared at Zhang Sheng and interrupted him. He said coldly, "Will you move aside or not?" Zhang Sheng looked at Xiaochen's cold gaze and thought of the battle between him and Murong Chong. He immediately lost his confidence. He clenched his fist and retreated to the side with an unwilling expression. Seeing Zhang Sheng retreat, the other core disciples behind him with weaker cultivation sighed and took the initiative to make way for Xiaochen. Ignoring the expressions of the crowd, Xiaochen quickly left the Hall of Contributions and disappeared from everyone's sight. Bastard, he actually took 20 black-ranked missions and only left 10 for us, Zhang Sheng said angrily after he and the others went up to the second floor. Xiaochen could not hear the angry voices of these people. Even if he could, he would ignore them. A bunch of trash. Did they really think that the Hall of Contributions was their home and that they had to accept all the missions in it? After Xiao Chun left the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, he took out the mission contract and flipped through it. He said indifferently, "Let's start from the closest one. I found this one. Recently, Clear Breeze City has been harassed by a peak rank 6 spirit beast. There are countless deaths and injuries. Clear Wind City was a small city in the Shiha province. It was about the same size as Moa City, where the Shao clan used to be. The strongest cultivator in the city was only a superior grade martial saint. Even with the strength of the entire city, they would not be able to eliminate this peak rank 6 spirit beast. Every time a rank 6 spirit beast appeared, it would disrupt the order of the city. After taking out the map and ascertaining the direction to Qingfeng City, Xiao Chun executed the Blue Dragon Cloud soaring art. He turned into a purple beam of light and rushed at full speed. 3 days later, with Xiao Chun rushing at full speed, the silhouette of a small city appeared in his vision. When Xiao Chun saw this city, he smiled faintly. "They're finally here. Let's end this quickly. It is just a peak rank 6 spirit beast." When Xiao Chun entered the city, he saw 5 wanted posters on the city walls. Xiao Chun could not help but stop and take a look. The wanted posters all showed his previous appearance. They were posted by the Duanmu clan and Hua clan, the Nanling province's Ji clan, the Shiha province's Yin clan, and the royal court's Gi Marquis. The bounty for each clan was at least 1,000 medial-grade spirit stones. Added together, it was 6,000 medial-grade spirit stones. Such a horrifying amount would make any cultivator feel tempted. "Young hero, after looking at it for so long, do you have any news of this person?" the city lord's residence guard in front of the wanted posters asked. Xiao Chun smiled faintly. "No, I'm just curious." The guard smiled and said, "Everyone is the same as you." When they first saw him, they were all astonished. This brat actually offended the 4 noble clans. He even offended the royal court's Gi Marquis. If an ordinary cultivator offended any of the clans, they would be in trouble. However, this brat seems to have offended half of the powers in the Great Qi nation. However, it is strange. This brat has not appeared for close to a year. It is like he disappeared from the world. This caused the noble clans to increase their bounties. As long as we know where this person is, we will be able to obtain 10,000 gold tails and 1,000 inferior grade spirit stones. If I see this person, I will be rich. I will no longer have to work in the city lord's residence. Xiao Chun smiled gently and said, "You will have the opportunity to see him." After Xiao Chun spoke, he did not linger. He entered the city gates and quickly headed for the city lord's residence. After Xiao Chun reported his intentions to the guards, they immediately let him in and left him in the side hall. Xiao Chun sat on a wooden chair. Just as he finished drinking a mouthful of tea, he heard urgent footsteps. The door opened with a Ji sound. 2 middle-aged men entered. They were superior-grade martial saints. However, the person on the left had a more profound cultivation. His aura was also much stronger than the person beside him. When Xiao Chun looked at the attire he was wearing, he should be the city lord of Clear Wind City. The person beside him should be his assistant. The city lord of Clear Wind City originally had an excited smile on his face. However, when he saw Xiao Chun, his expression immediately sank. He asked doubtfully, "Are you really a cultivator sent by the Heavenly Saber Pavilion? Why is your cultivation so low? Furthermore, you are alone. Are you a fake?" Xiao Chun smiled faintly. He did not get angry or anxious. He showed his identity token to the city lord and took out the mission contract. He said, "Heavenly Saber Pavilion core disciple, Qingyan Peaks, Xiao Chun. The contract and identity token prove that I am the real deal." The city lord assistant said angrily, "What is the point of sending a medial grade martial saint? There are many people in Clear Wind City waiting for you to save them. There is no need for your Heavenly Saber Pavilion to brush us off like this." Boom, boom. As the few of them spoke, the ground suddenly trembled. The Clear Wind City lord's expression could not help but change. He said, "Oh no, that black flame snake is coming again. Let's leave quickly." Hu-chi. A strong wind blew by the 2 of them. Xiao Chun took the initiative to open the door and leave. By the time the 2 of them chased after him, they could not even see Xiao Chen's shadow. The city lord said in astonishment. What a fast speed! Could we have made a mistake? The assistant at the side curled his lips and said, So what if he is fast? The skin of that black flame snake is even harder than frost iron. You and I are superior grade martial saints, yet we are unable to break its defense. How could he, a medial grade martial saint, do it? Xiao Chun executed the gravity spell and quickly flew towards the source of the sound. After a while, he discovered the spirit beast that was causing the commotion. He saw a 3-meter-wide black flame snake quickly burrowing out of the ground on the wide streets of the city. It spat out black flames from its mouth, burning the surrounding houses to ashes. The people on the streets were all terrified, running for their lives in all directions. Peak rank 6 black flame snake. Xiao Chen recognized the spirit beast's name with one glance. He said indifferently, However, it is only 200 years old. It is far from fully maturing. It is far from the 1,000-year-old scarlet-crowned snake in the underground world. Peak rank 6 spirit beasts had differences in strength. Aside from the difference in bloodline, the age of the spirit beast determined its strength. The longer it lived, the more horrifying its cultivation would be. If this was a 1,000-year-old black flame snake, even a martial king would have trouble dealing with it. A 200-year-old black flame snake was not even comparable to the black tuna whale that Xiao Chun encountered in the past. It could be dealt with easily. Xiao, when Xiao Chun saw a clump of flames shooting at a little girl, he no longer hesitated. His figure flashed, and he immediately landed on the ground. He carried the little girl in his embrace and quickly turned around. Bang! The black flame struck Xiao Chun and exploded. A shock wave surged and instantly engulfed Xiao Chun. This caused everyone to take in a deep breath of cold air. After the flames scattered, everyone was astonished to discover that the blue-robed Xiao Chun was completely fine. Thank you, young hero, for saving my daughter. A middle-aged woman quickly ran over and took the little girl from Xiao Chun's embrace. Then, she thanked him profusely. Xiao Chun said, There is no need to thank me. Leave quickly. This place is very dangerous. After Xiao Chun spoke, he sent out a gentle energy and enveloped the two of them, pushing them to a safe distance. Hu Qi, just as Xiao Chun withdrew his hand, the 200-meter-long black flame snake finally emerged from the ground. Its body soared into the air. It opened its bloody mouth and charged at Xiao Chun. Its sharp teeth gleamed with a cold light, and strands of black qi lingered around it, making one tremble in fear. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He circulated his qi and took a small step forward just as the huge snake's mouth was about to land. With a loud roar, he clenched his right hand into a fist and punched the snake's neck. Boom! There was a dull sound, and the black flame snake's huge body immediately tumbled backward. It smashed into the rocks on the street and shattered them. Xiao Chen did not hold back in this punch. After the dragon and tiger body sculpting art reached the threshold of the 5th layer, he had already achieved 10,000 kilograms of force. How could his opponent endure this? As the black flame snake rolled over, it swung its huge tail ferociously. Drawing the saber, a resplendent saber light lit up, and the black flame snake's body, which was as hard as frost iron, was neatly cut in half. Scarlet blood spurted out in the air, and the 3-meter-long snake tail fell to the ground. Glittering Wukuei, Xiao Chun leaped into the air, and thunderclouds instantly gathered. He flicked his wrist 9 times, and 9 strands of purple saber qi struck the black flame snake, leaving horrifying wounds on its body. The black flame snake writhed on the ground in pain, wailing in pain, leaving behind horrifying wounds. Flesh and blood flew everywhere, and the black flame snake rolled on the ground in pain. When the Clearwind City Lord and his deputy rushed over, they happened to see this scene. They were astonished. The deputy, who had just said that Xiao Chun would not be able to break the black flame snake's defense, immediately felt his face heat up. He muttered, How can this be? He is clearly only a medial grade martial saint. How can he break the black flame snake's defense? Chapter 303. The clear wind city lord looked at the thunderclouds in the sky and entered deep thought. He said sullenly, "He is different from us. No wonder he is so confident. This person is a cultivator who comprehended a state. Furthermore, his attainments in states are not low. That ordinary drawing the saber earlier is even stronger than a superior grade earth-ranked martial technique when infused with his state. The density of his saber chi is also stronger than ours. It is comparable to an inferior grade martial king. It looks like Clear Wind City is saved this time," the Clear Wind City Lord said with an excited smile. The black flame snake on the ground curled up into a ball, looking like a small mountain. Its cold eyes flickered with a red light as it stared at Xiao Chun. The black flame snake flicked its red tongue continuously, trying to capture Xiao Chun. It opened its mouth wide, and the surrounding fire-attributed spiritual energy quickly surged towards it. A huge black fireball appeared and spun continuously. When the horrifying heat reached its peak, the black fireball surged towards Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun smiled faintly and said, "Playing with fire before me? You are far from good enough. Go back." A fierce purple flame burned continuously in Xiao Chun's right eye. He did not condense it. He just let it pour out. The purple flame immediately surged like a roaring river. Boom! The surging purple flame immediately swallowed up the black flame that the black flame snake spat out. The surging flames seemed boundless. In an instant, the black flame snake cried out miserably as it rolled on the ground. When the black flame snake felt Xiao Chen's horror, it quickly fled into the distance. Its body stuck close to the ground as it moved, crushing many buildings. Trying to leave? It is already too late. Wu Kuei shakes the heavens. Xiao Chen shouted, and the ancient divine Wu Kuei tree appeared from nowhere. It was like a mountain, carrying a surging thunder aura as it pressed down on the black flame snake. Rumble. The state of thunder infused with holy might surged continuously above Xiao Chen's head. Along with the rumbling thunder, the divine Wu Kuei tree grew larger at a visible rate. It pressed down on the black flame snake's body. The huge force caused the ground to tremble. After a while, the divine tree turned into a horrifying electric light and merged into the black flame snake's body. With a thought from Xiao Chun, the black flame snake exploded. The black flame snake, which was already riddled with wounds from the purple thunder true fire, was blasted into smithereens by this electric light. It left behind a rain of blood that fell from the sky. Xiao Chun pulled the black flame snake's spirit core over and tossed it into his universe ring. Then, he quickly walked over to the Clear Wind City's city lord. Xiao Chun took out the mission contract and said indifferently, "Mission completed. Will you please leave your handprint and the city lord's official seal? It would be best if you left your handwriting on it." When the Clear Wind City's city lord saw the black flame snake, which had plagued Clear Wind City for several months, being easily killed by Xiao Chun, he still could not believe it. He only recovered his wits when Xiao Chun repeated himself. "Xiao Chun, Xiao Dragon, Dragon City Lord. Lord Chun, Dragon Lord. Xiao Moon. Forgive me for being direct, but isn't Qingyun Peak in decline?" Xiao Chun smiled and said, "Qingyun Peak's Yi Chun is the real deal. There is no need for me to lie to you. Qingyun Peak has not declined either. At least, his martial technique inheritance is still here. Furthermore, there is a peak master with limitless potential." After the black flame snake died, the city lord was in a good mood. He smiled and said, "Truly a young hero. This is unbelievable. I will leave my handprint now." After the Clear Wind City lord left his handprint, he took out the city lord's official seal and stamped it in red. Finally, he added his personal signature. Xiao Chen's mission was complete. Satisfied, Xiao Chun received the mission contract. He revealed a faint smile. He had obtained 1,000 contribution points. This mission was too simple. It could not temper his saber techniques at all. However, it was good to expand Qingyun Peak's reputation. As the city lord watched Xiao Chun leave, the assistant beside the city lord suddenly said, "My lord, I remember something. Recently, there was a rumor in the Shiha province that a youth from the Heavenly Saber Pavilion killed an expert of the older generation, Yumingshan. It seems like it might be him. The city lord muttered. There is an 80% chance that it is him. Although the black flame snake was a weak peak rank 6 spirit beast, it was still a peak superior grade martial saint. It would take a lot of effort to kill it. Furthermore, it would be hard to escape unscathed. This youth easily killed the black flame snake in just a few moves. Clearly, the two are not on the same level. There would not be more than 10 such geniuses in the great Qin nation. Qinyan Peak's reputation is going to soar. The Flowing Cloud Mountain Range was the second largest mountain range in the Shiha province, second only to the Lingyun Mountain Range. The spiritual energy there was much less dense than the Lingyun Mountain Range. However, the spirit herbs and all sorts of rare plants in the mountain range were no less than the Lingyun Mountain Range. It was a famous herb mountain. The most important thing was that although there were many sects of various sizes around this mountain range, there was not a single strong sect. Hence, it was ownerless. There were many more cultivators coming and going here than in the Lingyun Mountain Range. Most of them were hired by the big powers to protect the herb gatherers, preventing them from being injured by the ferocious spirit beasts in the mountains. On a lone peak in the core of the Flowing Cloud Mountain Range, a white-clothed girl carrying a medicinal basket was nimbly climbing up a dangerous cliff. Beside the white-clothed girl was a young bladesman in blue robes. He slowly floated beside her, protecting her. If that bladesman was not Xiao Chun, who else could it be? Xiao Chun looked at the white-clothed girl climbing up bitterly. He shook his head and said indifferently, "Miss Sun, why go through so much trouble? Just tell me what the herb you are looking for looks like, and I'll help you pick it." This girl was the daughter of the manor lord of a manor famous for alchemy near the Flowing Cloud Mountain Range. Her name was Sun Qian. She was also the one who issued the mission for Xiao Chun. If he helped the other party pick a spirit herb, he would receive 1,000 contribution points. Xiao Chun did not want to waste any time. Hence, he wanted to quickly complete the mission. Sweat covered Sun Qian's exquisite face. When she heard Xiao Chen's words, she wiped away her sweat and smiled. "Young Master Yi, it is not that I insist on doing this. It is just that this spirit herb is very troublesome to pick. You have to pull out all the roots. Furthermore, it cannot be damaged at all. Otherwise, if the spiritual energy leaks out, the spirit herb will wither very quickly. The medicinal effects will be completely gone. An inexperienced herb gatherer would not know the exact method." Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Since Sun Qian said that, he could only let her be. He extended out his spiritual sense and started to investigate the surroundings. Xiao Chen knew how to refine alchemy as well. He knew that Sun Qian was exaggerating. As long as there was some damage, the medicinal effects of any spirit herb would not diminish so quickly. However, Xiao Chen could not be bothered. Sun Qian's request was not exaggerated. When the time came, he would just have to adapt to the situation. The cliff that the two of them were on was very famous in the entire Flowing Cloud Mountain Range. It had an interesting name, Go Crazy First, also known as Immortal Herb Peak. The Immortal Herb Peak was the core of the Flowing Cloud Mountain Range. It was where the spiritual energy of the entire mountain range gathered. The peak was filled with peak-grade spirit herbs that could be picked at any time. At the foot of the mountain were spirit herbs that were about 50 years old. At the waist of the mountain, they were all spirit herbs that were more than 100 years old. If one could climb to the peak, they might even be able to find spirit herbs that were more than 1,000 years old. It could be said to be a true immortal herb peak. The reason why it had another name, Go Crazy First, was passed down by herb gatherers. Only a crazy person would risk their life to climb this peak. This was because it was simply too dangerous. There were all sorts of ferocious flying spirit beasts in the surroundings. These spirit beasts consumed peak-grade spirit herbs all year round. Their cultivations were much stronger than regular spirit beasts. Furthermore, this was because it was high up in the sky. Even a peak superior grade martial saint who had not learned a flying martial technique would not dare to climb to the waist of the mountain. At most, they would pick some spirit herbs at the foot of the mountain and leave immediately. As for the peak above 4,000 meters, there was once a superior grade martial king who relied on his strength to fly up. In the end, He did not even last half a minute before he was brutally killed by the guardian spirit beast of the holy herb. Xiao Chun was very clear on his own strength. This mission only required him to climb to the waist of the mountain. The height of 100 meters was still within his acceptable range. If he went any higher, he would have to give up on this mission. Without the cultivation of a martial king, he would simply be seeking death. At this moment, he had only climbed less than 500 meters, and he had already run into several ferocious rank 6 spirit beasts. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense detected a few black dots flying over from the northwest. He took out the Soul Slayer bow from the universe ring and said indifferently, "Miss Sun, be careful. There are more spirit beasts flying over." When Sun Qian heard this, her expression changed slightly. She quickly stopped climbing and slowly moved toward a protruding rock that she could use as leverage. The black dots in the distance got closer. They were 4 medial-grade, rank 6 spirit beasts, flaming cloud vultures. They were 3 meters long and had a wingspan of 20 meters. The feathers on their bodies were as bright as fire. They looked like a burning flame in the air. There were 9 vertical feathers on their tails. They were like sharp swords, straight and tough. There was a strand of flame at the tip of each feather. Although these flying spirit beasts were only medial grade rank 6, they were more difficult to deal with than a regular peak rank 6 spirit beast. If one was not careful, they would suffer greatly. Xiao Chen drew back the bowstring and knocked an essence light arrow. His spiritual sense locked onto a flaming cloud vulture, and he immediately released. The arrow moved like a meteor, tearing through the air and creating a piercing sound. With a sound, the arrow pierced through a flaming cloud vulture, creating a huge bloody hole. The flaming cloud vulture cried out miserably and fell to the ground. Chi! Xiao Chen's hands did not stop moving as he fired another arrow. The stronger the Soul Slayer bow, the stronger it would be. Every few months, when Xiao Chen used it, its might would increase significantly. The other flaming cloud vulture that Xiao Chun aimed to turn in the air. However, it still could not escape its fate of death. With a bang, a bloody hole appeared in its body. "Miss Sun, be careful. I'll be back soon." The remaining 2 flaming cloud vultures were already less than 500 meters away from Xiao Chun. If they were too close, the Soul Slayer bow would not be as effective. Xiao Chun swapped out his lunar shadow saber and rushed out to lure the flaming cloud vultures away. Sun Qian said worriedly, "Young Hero Yi, be careful." So, a flaming cloud vulture quickly flew over Xiao Chen's head. Its 2 sharp claws, which could easily tear through rocks, clawed at Xiao Chen's head. Chapter 304. If Xiao Chen was caught, no matter how strong his physical body was, his head would immediately explode. When Sun Qian saw the huge body of the fiery cloud vulture covering Xiao Chen's figure, she was so frightened that she turned pale and cried out. Bang! Bang! There were 2 explosions in the air. The first explosion was when the fiery cloud vulture's hard, frost iron claws were chopped off, and it fell from the sky. The second explosion was when a saber pierced through the fiery cloud vulture's body. After that, Xiao Chen's entire body pierced through the fiery cloud vulture. When Sun Qian saw that Xiao Chen was safe and sound, she heaved a sigh of relief and said, "That scared me to death." If Xiao Chen had died under the claws of the fiery cloud vulture, with her martial grandmaster cultivation, it was easy to imagine the consequences. She would have followed in Xiao Chen's footsteps. The final fiery cloud vulture circled around Xiao Chen continuously. Its tail feathers left rings of flames in the air. Finally, these flames formed a huge flaming tornado, encasing Xiao Chen within. Break! Xiao Chen swung his saber, and a sharp saber Qi tore a hole in the flaming tornado. Then he quickly flew out of the blazing flames. So. The instant Xiao Chen emerged, the 8 flaming feathers on the fiery cloud vulture's tail, feathers shot out like sharp arrows. As the flaming wings flew, they continuously absorbed the fire-attributed spiritual energy in the air. When they got close to Xiao Chen, They turned into a 20-meter-long, flaming spear. Xiao Chun used a gravity spell in the air, so he could only bring out about 70% of his strength. He did not dare to clash head-on with these flaming spears. Roaming dragons, 9 transformations. Xiao Chun shouted, and his body trembled in the air. He split into 9 and dodged the flaming spears flying at him. The momentum of the spears did not decrease. When they struck the ground, they blasted open 8 deep pits. Clear wind chop, only seeing the cool wind and not the saber. 9 gusts of cool wind blew from all directions, and in each breeze, there was a gust of wind. Xiao Chen's figure was hidden in each of them. In an instant, Xiao Chen's killing intent was completely gone. Only a gentle breeze brushed past the fiery cloud vulture's body. The fiery cloud vulture had never encountered such a situation before. It could not sense Xiao Chen's killing chi, so it could not help feeling suspicious. Boom! Just as it was feeling puzzled, Xiao Chen's 9 figures merged together. 9 pieces of saber chi shot out from the fiery cloud vulture's body, cutting it into 9 pieces in an instant. Xiao Chun sheathed his saber and returned to Sun Qian's side. He said indifferently, "If we go any higher, it will be even more dangerous. Just tell me what spirit herbs you need, and I will bring you there." Sun Qian revealed a difficult expression and hesitated. However, when she saw the determination in Xiao Chen's eyes, she lowered her head and said softly, "I want a 500-year-old, 9-colored flowing cloud fruit. I want to trample on the entire plant." A 500-year-old, 9-colored flowing cloud fruit was very valuable. If she sold it, she could easily fetch more than 500 medial-grade spirit stones. "It looks like I'm going to make a loss on this mission." Xiao Chun shook his head helplessly. He extended out his spiritual sense and found the 9-colored flowing cloud fruit after a while. Indeed, the 9-colored flowing cloud fruit was not just 100 meters up the mountain. It was more than a kilometer up. No wonder this girl refused to let him bring her up. She was probably worried that after Xiao Chun found out about the situation, she would immediately turn around and leave. So she could only brace herself and climb on her own. It would not be good to leave her behind when they reached the place. Xiao Chun withdrew his spiritual sense and smiled bitterly. Then, he picked up Sun Qian, who had her head lowered, and hugged her by the waist. As Sun Qian cried out in surprise, Xiao Chun executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art and activated the windwalk shoes. His speed instantly reached the speed of sound as he quickly climbed up the cliff. In the blink of an eye, Xiao Chun arrived at the location of the 9-colored flowing cloud fruit. He placed the dazed Sun Qian on a protruding rock and said, "We have arrived. Hurry up. There will be spirit beasts arriving soon." When Sun Qian saw the 9-colored flowing cloud fruit before her, she recovered her wits. She quickly took out a hoe from the herb basket and started to dig carefully. Xiao! Suddenly, a formless fluctuation appeared in the air. Xiao Chun frowned slightly as he looked into the distance. At the limits of his vision, he saw a fiery cloud vulture that was 20 meters long and had a wingspan of 100 meters. There were 20-odd feathers on its tail. Damn it, it is actually an adult fiery cloud vulture. It has lived for at least 500 years. I am definitely not a match for it in the air. Xiao Chun quickly analyzed the situation. Very few spirit beasts could live to adulthood. However, once they did, their strength would undergo a qualitative change. "Miss Sun, how much longer do you need?" Xiao Chun asked. Sun Qian was focused on digging the small tree where the flowing cloud fruit grew. When she heard Xiao Chun's question, she replied, 2 minutes. I only need 2 minutes. Xiao Chun's expression was calm as he said, "Don't lie to me. I'll pick you up in 2 minutes." After Xiao Chun spoke, he leaped into the air and quickly flew towards the adult fiery cloud vulture, luring it in another direction. Xiao Chun did not seek to kill it. He just wanted to delay it for 2 minutes. Hearing the voice behind her and sensing that Xiao Chun had left, Sun Qian's head immediately swelled. Her 2 charming eyebrows were tightly knitted together. With a bitter face, he said, "Really, I need at least 3 minutes. I should hurry up." His hands began to move faster. After digging out the rhizome, he immediately cleaned the rhizome carefully. There were close to a few hundred long and thin tentacles on the rhizome. If Sun Qian could not break a single one of these tentacles, she would not be able to achieve her goal. The sounds of explosions came from behind her, making her even more nervous. She increased her speed even more. 2 minutes later, Xiao Chun rushed back, travel-worn. His robes were burned to the point that not a single part of them was undamaged. His hair was disheveled. Blood leaked out from the corner of his lips, and a fiery red feather was stuck in his chest. Xiao Chun pulled out the feather. When Sun Qian heard the voice again, her forehead was covered in sweat. Her hands moved extremely quickly before she managed to place the last few tentacles back into the herb basket and cover it properly. Xiao Chun did not give her a chance to speak. He carried her and quickly descended to the ground 2 kilometers above the ground. Bang! The moment the two of them left, the adult fiery cloud vultures' huge claws clawed at the mountain peak. 2 large holes with a diameter of 10 meters appeared in the mountain peak, causing dust to fly everywhere. When a mature fiery cloud vulture saw that the entire 9-colored flowing cloud fruit had been dug out, it became completely enraged. It let out a sharp cry and charged at Xiao Chun and Sun Qian. Its speed instantly surpassed the speed of sound. Sun Qian fell from a high altitude. She was in Xiao Chun's embrace, her complexion pale. She was so frightened that she did not dare to make sound. She grabbed onto Xiao Chun's waist tightly. Circulating the dragon and tiger body sculpting art, Xiao Chun withdrew his strength and increased his weight to 5,000 kilograms. His speed of descent immediately increased by several tens of times. When Xiao Chun was about to land, he quickly dispersed his energy and sent out a shockwave towards the ground. His body immediately slid forward. Purple thunder, true fire, shoot. Xiao Chun turned his head, and a fierce purple flame quickly gathered in his right eye. It formed a purple arrow and struck the fiery cloud vulture at lightning speed. Boom! The explosion created a huge shockwave, blowing the huge body of the mature fiery cloud vulture far away. In an instant, it was a great distance away from Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun completed this series of actions in the time it took for a spark to fly. There were no pauses at all. He had exhausted less than 30% of his essence. In addition to the injuries he had suffered earlier, this journey could be said to be extremely dangerous. If he hesitated for even a moment, he would have died under the vulture's claws. Outside the mountain range, the people of the Clear Water Manor's flowing cloud sect were waiting anxiously. When they saw Xiao Chun carrying Sun Qian flying out, they all revealed joyful smiles. Xiao Chun landed firmly on the ground while carrying Sun Qian. He gently placed the blushing Sun Qian on the ground before slowly moving to the side. First, miss, did you succeed? Did you manage to pick the 9-colored flowing cloud fruit? The people of the Clearwater Manor immediately surrounded Sun Qian and asked all at once. After they received an affirmative answer, they all revealed excited smiles. With this, we can transplant the flowing cloud fruit back to our Clearwater Manor's herb garden in perfect condition. The Manor Lord will be very happy. We will be able to earn at least 100 medial Great Spirit Stones every year. Xiao Chun tidied up his messy clothes and his scattered black hair. When he heard this, he finally understood why they could not destroy the roots of the flowing cloud fruit. It turned out that they needed to transplant the herb. However, the flowing cloud fruit was already a rank 8 spirit herb. For the Clearwater Manor to know how to transplant it, they really hid their strength. Sun Qian parted the crowd and rushed over to Xiao Chun excitedly. Her face was filled with smiles as she said, "Young Hero Yi, thank you very much. Are your injuries all right?" Xiao Chun smiled casually, indicating that he was fine. In reality, he was indeed fine. Although the mature fiery cloud vulture was very ferocious, it would be difficult for Xiao Chun to escape unscathed if he kept dodging. However, he could still avoid getting injured. "This is the mission contract. Miss Sun, please sign it and leave your fingerprint," Xiao Chun said as he took out the contract and ink and handed it to Sun Qian. After Sun Qian received the contract and signed it, she took out 2 bottles of medicinal pills and handed them to Xiao Chun. She said, "Young Hero Yi, These are our clear water manor's secret healing pills. When consumed orally and applied externally, they can heal your injuries quickly. Xiao Chun received the contract and medicinal pills. Then he performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Many thanks, Miss Sunday. I will take my leave first." After speaking, Xiao Chun did not linger. His figure flashed as he left. Sun Qian looked in the direction Xiao Chun left. Her gaze never left him. It was like something in her heart had been hollowed out. "Miss, stop looking. This kind of person is destined to be on a different level from us," the old housekeeper of the Clearwater Manor said unhurriedly when he saw Sun Qian's expression. Sun Qian revealed a bitter smile, and disappointment flashed in her eyes. She said indifferently, "I know. That's why I did not try to hold him back. Let's go." After leaving the flowing Cloud Manor, Xiao Chun went to the nearest city and found Nin. He took a comfortable bath and changed his clothes. Then he took out the mission contracts and checked them carefully. After Xiao Chun checked them one by one, he said, "In the past 2 months, I have already completed the 15 missions in the Xia province. The remaining 5 are for the other prefectures. Let's start with the Dongming province first."